What is going on? Ooh, we got a crowd tonight. I didn't think people would be here this late. It's a late one. It is a definite late one. What's going on, everybody? It's been a bit. It's been a while. I haven't streamed in, want to say a month or so. What's going on? I'm seeing who's in the chat right now. Let's go. We got Mark. We got Eric, Fry Minis, Dynastis. I see Taryn, the Destructo Boy, my buddy David, Nomad Joseph, Shub Tagarath. What's going on? Ace, my brother. Yeah. So yeah, today's a big day. But before we jump, we're gonna jump like right into it. But before we jump into it, I just want to say big old thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. We hit the 5,000 sub mark, which is awesome. So yeah. So we hit the halfway goal. Ooh, Prime Minutes has become a member for 14 months. Rummager level. Let's go. But yeah, I want to just say a big thank you. We hit the 5K sub mark. We're on the way to 10K. If you guys notice a little shift in my content, I've been hitting shorts really hard, and it's paying off. I'm going to try to get back into some regular long form videos, but it's gonna be a bit D&D's kind of been dry except for today. So yeah, today we got a big one. I'm pretty sure everybody's watched every other content creator talk about One D&D. So for me, I was watching everybody's content too. So that was the big thing. I was watching everybody's content too. I've been trying to catch up. I took my own notes. So we're not gonna go ahead in here and dissect every little thing because I'm pretty sure you've heard that from everybody else. But I'm gonna go over the big highlights for every class and major feats that I saw that kind of just popped out to me, and also the major changes, especially when it comes to character building, because now we kind of now have a bigger look at how things are going to shape if everything passes with the first playtest of how backgrounds and races are going to interact. Now that we have 3 classes, especially a full caster and then a half caster and then pretty much a martial, we kind of know what we're dealing with now. So definitely there's changes how we can approach character building completely, and it actually does the one thing I think people were complaining about, which was options. It gives us options. So yeah, let's jump into it. So expert classes, for what we were getting into with these, is that each of the 12 core core classes of the game are going to be split up into 4 categories, 3 in each. And expert classes are going to be the Bard, Ranger, and Rogue, because they all share the expertise feature, but also all of them play into the idea that they are the crafty, skilled polymaths. They kind of able to dip into a little bit of everything and kind of a jack of all trades, but with their own little spin on it. Bard obviously taking a sort of a musical, artistic approach, while Rangers are wild man. They have a foot in civilization and a foot in nature, and then you have rogues that are living their life out in the streets. So that's just one of them, though. So we have pretty much a guaranteed 3 more after this, and then there's still going to be more testing for this. So I just want to jump into what the groups so we can see the split. So we got experts, like I just mentioned. What's going on, Fallen? We got mages, which is split up into sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. Thanks for the 5, man. Thank you. 10K before the wedding. That needs to be the new mantra. If the shorts keep going the way they are, that might be a possibility. They're serious. Like, shorts are, you can get one trending. They do work. So yeah, I recommend content creators, if you guys can just jump on them. They're really good. But yeah, so sorcerers, warlocks, and wizards are considered mages. So all of our kind of arcane, special focused like classes are going to be there. Priests are divided up into cleric, druid, paladin. Cleric and paladin make a lot of sense considering there's a divine element. Druid seems like the outlier, but it makes sense in sort of if they take the angle of what druids are in the real world, where they are some sort of priest or spiritual leader of a group. I could also see monk kind of switching places with paladin, because monk and barbarian and fighters are now in the warrior section. So while barbarian and fighters make sense, monk again, as one of these outliers, or monk and paladin could switch places. But I think with them going with the more martial arts angle, that's why they're bringing a warrior. And I'll go, man. Thanks, thank you. Thanks for the 10, man. Yeah, it's been a ride. It's been a ride to this 5K. And actually, stay tuned for the next video. I'm gonna be announcing a giveaway for hitting the 5K. I'm hopefully get that soon. So yeah, so keep an eye out for that one. But yeah, so they split these up into 4 class groups, and the 4 class groups play into the 4 essential classes of classic D&D. So experts are the thief, mages are the wizard, priest are the cleric, and then warriors are the fighters. And while this does touch back to classic D&D, it also pushes it forward so that it allows newer players that are trying to get a grasp of the game understand what sort of role these are going to fill, or at least what archetype narratively are they going to fill. So they're not strictly stuck to the classic fighter, cleric, wizard, thief, or rogue. They can mix it up and be like, well, we need an expert for the group. Okay, well, let's play a ranger or ranger or bard. Let's mix it up. Same thing with mages. Oh, well, I don't want to be the wizard. Let's change it up and be a sorcerer or warlock, which is pretty cool. And the same and so on for the cleric, druid, paladin, and the barbarian, fighter, monk. Drinking anything tonight. I'm trying to burn through the bottle of Jefferson's Ocean. Do not buy that. I'm just drinking some root beer. I have no alcohol right now in my cabinet, but I just got paid, so I might pick up a bottle of something tomorrow. Yep. Yeah, Dennis actually sets up that standard for a group, allowing the big flexibility that I really appreciate. Yeah, and that's what I like about the classifications of core groups. It's a signal for newer players to kind of know where they're going to navigate and know what role they kind of want to fill, and then they can specialize later. At least the narrative role, not necessarily the mechanical role. I still think the way these are set up, they're still going to be geared towards their niches. Like monk isn't necessarily the same as a fighter and barbarian in terms of what their role is going to be, but maybe that might be a signal too for us that they are going to be drastically changing the monk to play a certain way. That they are going to play maybe a more tanky role. We know, or at least a better, stronger frontliner. Any thoughts on Artificer also being considered part of the expertise as it is Atasha's? It makes sense. I kind of wish they just shoved Artificer in the player's handbook, though, because in the new update, I don't see why they need to keep it separate. Just shove it in here. We get 13 classes, and then eventually force wizards to make more classes into the other categories. That's my thought. I would like to see them do work on Artificer and do a rework, because I am currently playing a 14th, 15th level Artificer. And at that high level, I'm not enjoying it. Love my character, don't enjoy the class. I definitely think it does a lot early on and does a little too much later when you actually need tools to do things. Rather than adding the Artificer to the player's handbook, they should license the Luchador. I would be honored and happy. And update on that, we are very close to having a full playable class. I'm literally 2 features away. I'm just a little stuck, but it's there. It's there. All right, so let's jump into Bard. So what did I notice or pick out about Bard? Let me bring up my notes. So the thing about the Bard is, let's jump all the way down to Bardic Inspiration. I think that was like the big thing people are noticing. We'll get into how the class and subclass structure is after we kind of see all the classes, because there is some big changes on their approach, and a lot of them I'm happy about. But I think the iconic ability of Bardic Inspiration is drastically changed. It still functions in a way where a player is going to be allowed to help out their allies in passing most D20 tests, so attack rolls, saving throws, etc., and skills. But instead of using your bonus action to give your Bardic Inspiration to somebody, this is all reactionary now. So the big change is that it uses your reaction, which is interesting. It solves a gameplay issue, not necessarily a narrative issue. the gameplay issue is that bards tend to give out bardic inspiration, and then the players they either forget about using it or they just don't use it, etc. So, oh, thanks for another 5, buddy. Almost 20 viewers of only 6 likes. We can do better. Lick that like button. This man can buy some bourbon. Thank you, buddy. Let's see. We got. I think some of your guys' messages are getting cut off. Let's fix this. I don't like that. I like the fact that. So we're gonna do something. Okay. I'll fix chat later. I don't like that it's shrinking like this. So we'll fix it later. Because I actually able to see your guys' chat right here. But yeah, and I'll jump into the healing. I see you guys bringing up the healing. So yeah, it changes to reaction. So my big takeaway was is that it does change with the narrative behind it, because bardic inspiration is this thing where the bard on their turn takes some time to say some words of encouragement that sticks to your players, sticks to your allies, so that when in time of need they kind of remember and get this pep talk, and then they're able to push through. This changes it now, so it's kind of like a really quick, hey, I see you're struggling really quick. Oh, here's a pat on the back. Here's a slap on the ass, and you're gonna pass whatever you need to do. So for me, there is a little narrative disconnect, but gameplay wise, it smooths out a play style or play issue that is a little bit of a sticking point for bard players, and it actually puts the entire action back on the bard player instead of having to constantly remind another player to be like, hey, I gave you bardic inspiration. Remember to use it. Because that happens even with my play group. I got 2 bards, 2 of my buddies, my cousin and my best friend. They play bards in our high level campaign, and they forget the exact same thing. They hand us bardic inspiration, and we forget. So yeah. So it's one of those things. But I see that Mark brought up the inspiration heal. So this is a big change. This originally this is like a variant from the cutting words that was in the lore bard. So cutting words, the original version of cutting words, I can bring it up. Lore bard was that you can use it to remove damage, or pretty much take damage off of an attack roll or a damage roll, excuse me. So now they took that out, moved a damage mitigation ability into the heal. But instead of just targeting the damage, this is a reactionary heal using your bardic inspiration die, which if somebody drops to 0, which is the cool part, they drop to 0, you can bring them back up, which is sick. To use bardic inspiration on the death saving throw, what constitutes a failed test? Anything below a 10, a 1, not usable. It really... See, I don't know if they walked back the critical failure rules. Because then obviously a -1 is just a straight fail, and then you get 2 death saving throws. But I would say anything under 10, if it's still, I think, would pass would you be able to use it? Well, yeah, this heal. Even then, I don't think you're going to want to use, if your ally drops to 0, and you have your reaction open, you have the bardic inspiration there, I don't think you're going to be wanting to use the D20 test at that point. I think you're going to want to use the heal immediately, so they just skip right back up. Okay, as DM, another bonus action heal, freaking crazy. But did they already have a healing word, right? Yeah, they had access to healing word, but healing word's a bonus action on your turn. So, the cool thing is how this interacts with like stuff like counterspell and silvery barbs. If people are still allowed to use it, it still interacts in a way where you either need to keep this up, or you need to keep a counterspell or silvery barbs, if those are still functioning the way that they're going to function in the newer update. I don't see silvery barbs making it into the update, obviously, or at least not in the form it's looking at it, if they decide to reprint it in another supplement. But yeah, so yeah, this is I like these changes. I really, really like this change. It's more of a gameplay smoothing, even though there's a little bit of a narrative hang up. but yeah, it it allows bards to no longer, or it forces bards no longer to set it and forget it. They're a little bit more active in how they're going to be using their bardic inspiration, and this is just a core class. It's not even what the subclasses are going to allow to do, and we'll see in a bit when we get to the College of Lore Bard. So, also the big change with bardic inspiration is that it's no longer based around your charisma modifier. It is all your proficiency bonus, and everything refreshes on a long rest. Or we're going to be seeing a lot of this where they're moving away from long rests and trying to charge or make uses for features based off your how big your proficiency bonus is. Oh yeah, we're gonna get into Song of Rest and how that is gone the wayside. Also, want to mention I saw this pop up in True Out Monks and Indestructible Boys collab video. How they mentioned that right here, there's a big change in their weapon setup. They lost weapon proficiencies, so it's mainly just simple weapons that are here now. But I did see some discussion that short swords were moved into simple weapons now. So they might reclassify some of the weapons. And I'm assuming stuff like Valor and Sword Bard are going to get access to some of the other missing proficiencies, because some of the other classes or subclasses don't necessarily play in the same way that those two heavier Gish styled subclasses are. Some of the spells are touch, need to wait for 6th level to cast Mass Heal to heal party and still use a spell slot in action instead of just at the end of a short rest. Yep. So, let's keep going. Okay. The next big change we're seeing with the Bard is spellcasting is completely changed. They are now a prepared caster. It's looking more and more that the classes are all going to be this way. So I know there's some hangups with this for some of the narrative and also mechanical for if every spellcasting class gets this. From a gameplay casual standpoint, I see this change happening because there's this awkward conversation that you're going to have with your DM, and I've seen it. I've done this conversation early on where you pick a set of spells, but either they are terrible, they're ineffective for the campaign. So you feel like you're playing with one hand behind your back. So you want to change them. And waiting to level to slowly change them, or your DM just straight up not allowing you to change them because it's like, well, you're going to stick with the decisions, is a feel bad. So this is definitely one of those, like, let's remove that awkward conversation. Let's remove that awkwardness and allow players the freedom to actually change things, and give them the flexibility to also swap things out so that they can pick different spells that will be a little bit more effective and maybe more flavorful for their character. So I see this as definitely player facing buff. It no longer, it removes that awkwardness, that social aspect of the game where the DM may have to reinforce a certain thing, or is very much a stickler on how the game is supposed to be played based off the book. So yeah, so from a very, very casual standpoint, I think it's a good thing. But from a mechanical standpoint, it definitely steps on the toes of some other classes. Yeah. And Destructible Boy, spell handicapping a player for not having a certain level of meta knowledge about the game or campaign should absolutely be prevented. Yep. Yeah, and this is what that does. So and I'm perfectly fine with that. I've been in positions where I played my first Bard. I played it was freaking terrible, and I did not have fun playing it. But now it's one of these classes that I actually would enjoy going back to playing, just with a different subclass. Yeah, it's an accessibility improvement. Yep. Yeah, and I agree. It's super fun. It just, a lot of these changes you're gonna notice for those that haven't kept up with it or haven't actually had the time until like now to actually read this or look at this. They tend to be geared towards encouraging a more cohesive and smoother gameplay and game style and relationship with the DM, and removing some of that social weight and unnecessary and unneeded interactions with the DM to actually just be handled immediately through the game, which I like. It just makes things smoother. DM doesn't have to worry about whether you pick the wrong spell and make sure you're keeping up. You can just be like, well, I'm just gonna change it myself, and boom, there. I can just wait the next day. Yeah. So yeah, we see that, and also the big thing. So I didn't think they would do this. I thought each class was going to have their own class spell list, but I will openly admit I was 100% wrong. The arcane, primal, and divine spell list are the main spell list for the game now, or at least the direction they're taking. So I 100% wrong. I thought there was going to be a bard spell list, and then there was going to be this arcane or these specific spell lists. But it looks like this is the case now, that there's going to be arcane. These spell lists are going to be attached strictly to these classes, but also there are going to be even more limitations. So the bard has access to the arcane spell list, but can only pick spells from the School of Divination, Enchantment, Illusion, or Transmutation. So no necromancy, no evocation. Cool. Super, super flavorful. I can see subclasses now that give you access to those other schools of magic, or even access to other spell lists, like the primal and the divine, which is pretty sick. I like this. It's super flavorful. Like you can make a college for the bard that focuses on evocation magic, and they just be like, okay, they get access to evocation magic, and then buff that. And I'll also the same thing with you're going to see that with the wizard. I'm most interested in wizard, how they're going to handle this, and how each subclass is going to be geared towards every different school of magic. So I'm looking forward to this. This is actually one of the things that got me excited. It's like, oh, okay. One thing I was very apprehensive about, but now I completely 180'd. And now I'm like, okay, this is pretty sick. All right. Other than that, we jump into the second level. Bread and butter, expertise. It's expected. It's what we're getting. It's the cornerstone of all these expert classes. Nothing changed, nothing different. You get to choose two, and then they give you suggestions, and then you'll see this throughout the rest of the document. They give you suggestions to take if you're the kind of player, you have a new player that doesn't know what they're wanting you to do, and they just kind of need to jump into the game. And boom, they can just pick the two suggested ones and just keep going. And then the next big change is Song of Restoration. This replaces Song of Rest. So Song of Rest, bring it up. Song of Rest. What did Song of Rest do? Song of Rest originally would allow you to, on a short rest, add an extra d6 to anybody that used. Excuse me, I'm burping. It would allow you to add an extra d6 to anybody that was healing themselves from a hit die, and then that extra d6 would grow in size as the level. They completely just got rid of that, signaling more changes that short rests aren't necessarily going to be a thing. Song of Restoration instead replaces this and just giving the bard access to all the healing spells that they probably did not have access to due to them being a focus on their arcane spells. So they get the best of both worlds. They get access to arcane magic, but then they also get access to their natural healing abilities that were not on this list now. And it's a win-win. I don't mind this. This is sick. It's a cool, neat way. Neat design direction they're going to take. And then I can see this for other classes. Maybe not any of the the updates to the player's handbook ones, but like it's people that are homebrewing other classes and they want to add like specific spells. There's now a precedent to do that, which is sick. Oh, short rests are still a thing. I'm wondering then. Oh, I need to keep looking into it. 7th level. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. I'm catching up with chat right now. Eric said, I do like the idea of spell choices being unchangeable, like iconic spells per character, but the reality is unhappy people, so I agree ultimately. Yeah, I think not like having these iconic spells, I think making them not unchangeable, I think that should be more like a subclass thing, is like that's the idea or the big payoff for that subclass or class or something. And then that's what you're building up towards if you're going to want unchangeable spells. But in general, yeah, the like Just it's a player DM. Get rid of that adversarial relationship with them, with the DM and the player, allowing them to change the spells. Okay. All right. I see some short rest discussion. How most groups don't use it. I've my groups is sometimes guilty of this. We do multiple sessions where it's just long rest after long rest. So it happens. Okay. Also, so okay. Okay, cool. Caught up. And then yeah, so nothing really to say or dislike about the Song of Restoration. It just completely replaces the Song of Rest. Then we get to Bard subclasses. So again, our third level, you get a Bard subclass. Then you get another one at 6, and then now you're going to get a feature at 10th level, which we never would. And originally it was Magical Secrets. And now we get another subclass feature, and then you get the final one at 14. And that is going to be a recurring theme for each of these classes. They are all symmetrical. They all get a 3rd, 6th, 10th, and 14th level feature, which is interesting because currently, if you look at the player's handbook now and look at all these classes, actually, I can bring them all up really quick. All their subclass features are vastly different, and they're not symmetrical at all. They're asymmetrical with each other. So it's interesting, and it leads me to believe that maybe each class group is going to have a symmetrical design while not being identical to the other class groups. But the mage one is the most interesting and varied because 2 out of the 3 of those mage classes, so warlock, sorcerer, and wizard, warlock and sorcerer get their subclass at level 1, wizard gets it at 2nd level. So I'm wondering if they're going to make changes to that, or they're just going to keep them as is, and this is just kind of like one of those things that just happened with this batch of classes. So yeah, we'll get into the 10th level feature for this, and also for the rogue, because that's actually for the 6th level feature of the rogue, because that's a big deal for the rogue. Also, that big old change. All right, so instead of ASIs, we're now getting feats. Yeah, the scaffolding change is going to be nutty. Mage and priest are going to be the most telling. Yep, because yeah, all specifically those groups, I can see it in the warrior being very similar, where the fighter, barbarian, and monk all get their features at the same level. Their subclass features, I mean, at the same level, which is perfectly fine. But priest and mage, that's the one where I'm also excited to see how they're going to handle that, because the ones that make sense together tend to be cleric, sorcerer, warlock in terms of their level progression, because they all get their subclasses at level 1. So yeah. Oh yeah, and a thing we're missing at the beginning. Good thing. Who Mark? Thank you for bringing it up. Jack of all trades is no longer here. It's still in the bard chassis, but it's no longer. Where did he? Jack of all trades was a 2nd level feature. It's no longer there. So now you have to wait until 5th level to get that, and we'll jump into that right now. Jack of all trades is now a 5th level feature. Functions the same, but now you have to wait. So, which is interesting. I don't know if they feel like this is like the big power bump that equates to like extra attack on top of like the full spells list. Getting access to 3rd level spells, or they're just adding this as a cherry on top. Because look at what we're getting. We're getting a 3rd level access to 3rd level spells. We're getting a bardic inspiration die to go up a D8, and then Jack of all trades. And Jack of all trades is a favorite feature from a lot of bards. So having them wait till 5th level for it is interesting. I'm not mad at that. Oh, Jack of all trades only works for skill checks now. Interesting. So to any ability check you make that uses a skill proficiency you lack and that doesn't otherwise use your proficiency bonus. For example, you make a strength check. So I'm wondering now. It's just ability checks. So skill per so no initiative, dispel, counterspell. Okay. That having Jack of all trades no longer work on initiative. I know this will get like people in the know, people that really know the rules and pretty much really enfranchise players are gonna hate it because, well, it's like, okay, that little extra bit of knowledge, like they know that this works for initiative. Uh, Now that it's not there for them anymore. For casual players or for new players like me, when I started off and played a bard, I had no idea that this was there, that it meant for like Jack of all trades to work for initiative. And if you would have told me, and I was still in that mindset where I didn't interact with anything online, I'd have been like, "Oh, that happened? That was a thing." I could see why they would get rid of it, so that they have other rules that would help interact with initiative in a way, and not automatically give the bard a kind of a leg up on that compared to other classes. Yeah, skill checks are insanely more useful in combat. So yeah, that is a trade off. Okay, we don't get initiative, but the skill. Yeah, there is a ton of skill checks, and we'll get into like the actions later because yeah, they added a bunch of actions. It is kind of reminding me of Baldur's Gate because some of these, for example, like the jump action is an action in Baldur's Gate 3. So it's interesting. Um, it seems like some of the stuff that they did try out and liked in Baldur's Gate 3 is making its way into the new update. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm noticing that. Yeah, a lot of it's proficiency based, proficiency bonus, proficiency bonus. I think it's only when you're going to use your spell casting, it's really going to lean into your charisma. Yeah, the lower bar pre-selected skills are the same from Baldur's Gate 3. Yep, it's interesting. Like, only thing is like too bad they didn't take some of those weapon features from Baldur's Gate 3 for weapons, unless that's something that's going to come down in a later update. Because giving these soft maneuver like features to anybody wielding a specific weapon is pretty sick in Baldur's Gate 3. So yeah, I'm all for it. Final Bardic Inspiration. This one, this one got moved. So it functions the same, but now it moves to 7th level. So originally, Font of Bardic Inspiration, or Font of Inspiration, it's renamed to Font of Bardic Inspiration, was originally at 5th level. It got relocated to 7th. So we're seeing similar features that are just getting shifted around. So yeah, so there's that. Then again, we get in our feats. We get extra teeth at 9th level. So now we're getting it at 9th instead of 10th. So originally we would get expertise at 10th. Now we're getting it at 9th because at 10th level we're getting a subclass feature, which originally was magical secrets, but now we're getting magical secrets pushed to 11th level. And magical secrets completely changes as well. Because instead of getting access to 2 spells from any spell list, they don't have to be on the same one. Now you're going to be restricted to getting access to one of the 3 spell lists. And you're going to be able to prepare 2 spells off that list whenever you take a rest. So you can retake the arcane, but then it gives you full access to the entire arcane spell list. Or you could take the divine and get access to the divine, or same, you could take the primal and get access to all the primal. So this is, I like this more so than the original magical secrets. I think getting access to an entire spell list is stupid good. It's just stupid good. Like, it's just really good. And then the fact that you now are going to get access to all the spells if you just retake arcane, it's awesome. And then yeah, you still have to prepare them, and they take up spaces to prepare. Okay. Prediction: 70% sure Battle Masters getting cut. Maneuvers will be something each warrior can pick up, including Monk and Paladin. I agree with that. That's something I think people have been asking for, to give marshals a little bit more oomph. That, yeah, we're going to see maneuvers kind of opened up and added to at least the warrior class group, and it would sick. It furthermore, I think it would even push Monk to no longer have Stunning Strike, especially now with the grapple rules in place too. And if they give them maneuvers, there's no need for the Monk to have at least Stunning Strike as it is now. But some sort of like special feature at each subclass that is like a signature strike move that's coded to a subclass would be pretty sick. Warriors are getting fighting styles. Yes, they all get access to fighting style feats. So that's another thing to mention too. Fighting styles are no longer a class feature. They are now moved into feats, which is pretty sick. Genesis, what about the extra feature given at 7th involving rerolling ones on Bardic Inspiration die? Let me see. Did I miss something? Okay, I did miss something. Okay, yeah, Font of Bardic Inspiration. So you gain Bardic Inspirations on a short rest, but then yeah, I missed this little section. If you roll a 1 on a Bardic Inspiration die, it's no longer expended. Oh man, I think which subclass? This reminds me. I think it's Eloquence has a feature like this. Yeah, it's very very similar in the way of Unfailing Inspiration, but now it's only if you fail, you roll a 1 on it. It's good. It removes the feel bad of wasting a Bardic Inspiration. It keeps it going. I'm not against it, but I would not be surprised. He also just got that completely either because it removes a level of risk that I don't think is necessary. Like this is good, but it's like yeah, you would have just told me Fauna Bardic Inspiration at 7th was just what you get. I wouldn't be mad either. So yeah. Again, expertise at level 8, or excuse me, level 9. Subclass feature at 10, magical secrets, another feat at 12, and then you get another subclass feature at 14th, and then further magical secrets at 15th level, getting again another. You get the choice of another list that you didn't choose before. So you're getting access to 2 lists, potentially getting access to all 3 lists, except if you stick with Arcane and don't choose it for your other list, you're not going to get access to the full Arcane spell class or Arcane spell list. So keep that in. That's a thing to keep in mind with this one. It's awesome though. You're pretty much the way you're doing. I think about it is you're learning new songs or jokes or however you want to flavor your bard. You're learning some new artistic flares, routines, joke, yeah, everything, and putting it down, and then eventually you kind of just prepare your performance that you're gonna give. That's for me. That's the way I'm looking at how they prepare their spells. It's them setting up the routine. I would love to see them do like a comedy bard subclass. That would be hilarious. All right, 16th level feats, and then we get Superior Bardic Inspiration. So this originally was the 20th level feature, correct? And they moved it back down to 18th. So this replaces Superior Inspiration, or it's renamed. So this is brought down there to 18th level. The original one at 20th, I believe, only gave you 1 Bardic Inspiration if you had none when you rolled for initiative. Now this gives you 2. So it actually gets a bit of a better upgrade. You get 2 of them now. And magical secrets are also spells prepared. Yep. So yeah, this is like Bard in general. I'm liking like it. This look like I've played a Bard before, 2 different Bards. And I'm more excited to play Bard now than at least my first Bard that I played. 19th level, you get another feat. At 20th level, they're doing the epic boons. I see the discussion and around surrounding this, and I'm finding people are a little bit kind of thrown off with it because they do want that class capstone. Somebody from a design standpoint, yeah, it'd be actually awesome to have like a nice capstone that just says this is what this class is. This is the final form, the ultimate form, your mega evolution of your class. This is it. But at the same time, realistically, Wizards doesn't support tier 4 play. Most people are never going to see this like at all. And unless that changes, unless this new edition, wizard every adventure they put out goes up to level 20. But they even not just hit level 20. It's like you hit level 20, you still get some sessions in afterwards to use your abilities. Until wizards actually can support that playstyle as a person looking from a casual player standpoint, cool. I'm never gonna play this. Like, I'm just never gonna interact with this. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, they should do something. Like, they should do a little bit more. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm not really gonna play this. Like, you're writing adventures from levels 1 to 14, 15. And then sometimes it's like levels 3 or levels starting at level 5 until level 10, level 12. You know, like, you're never getting. They just don't support this level of play, which is frustrating because that's how a lot of people are interacting with the game. If they are homebrewing and doing their homebrew worlds, obviously that's a different story. But casual players that are just going to Barnes and Nobles, picking up the book, and just running, hey, I want to run this fairy adventure. Here, it's a bit of a cop out. Yeah, no, I do agree on it. From a design standpoint, I would like to see these epic final form capstones for their subclass. Do I understand why they did this way? Yeah, because they're not going to support level 20 play. For me, at this point, if they're not going to support and write stories that or adventures that do level 20 play, why are we still leveling up to level 20? Like, why is the game still having us function outside of just tradition that we're still leveling to 20? If they understand that the sweet spot that they like to have us play in is from levels 1 to 14, 15, or even just 1 to 10, future edition, like even a future edition past this, consider just cutting another 10 levels and just having us go from 1 to 10. Like, it just, like, for me, like, there's obvious in how they're producing adventure books that they want to do a certain thing. But there's a level of tradition with the game and expectation by the fan base that says, but 20 is there. They were tired of people forgetting about the one page in the DMG. Yeah. Yeah. And actually, that is a good idea, Black Fang. Maybe Epic Boon at 19th and 20th Capstone. Yeah, that actually probably be a better switch. Because you're getting a feat at level 19. I don't really understand what kind of feat you're going to need by that level. But put a boon here and then put a capstone. You get the best of both worlds. You get like a badass feat that makes you feel good. That's just awesome. And then, or the boon, excuse me. And then at 20th level, you get this. I am the rogue. I'm the bard. I'm the fighter ability. Yeah, 100% people are going to multi-class instead of taking the boon. Yep. 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 So yeah. So I don't disagree with anybody critiquing this part because yeah, it is. There's a lot of angles to this, but yeah, I think them Wizards are not really just giving us a class capstone. And yeah, okay, they want to give us boons. Well, here you go, 19 level. But if you want us to play in this level range, make adventures that give us access to that tier of play so that we can use this stuff. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. Prepared spell list. They gave you, the cool thing is that they're giving you a suggested loadout. So for those that don't really know what they're wanting to take, boom, you just have a suggested loadout right here, which is awesome. I like the fact that they are doing this for a lot of newer players, making it more accessible, which is awesome. They're giving a better direction of what they think or see that the bard should play as. So yeah. So all around, uh, I think bard makes out pretty well. They have some significant changes, and as a core class. Let's get into College of Lore before I give like a full wrap up of what I expect, what I liked about the Bard. College of Lore. Now that we see that they changed the scaffolding for the class, the subclass, excuse me. Now we're actually getting the 10th level feature. So this starts off with bonus proficiencies. So while I will have the other one opened up, College of Lore, you get bonus proficiencies in College of Lore. Originally, you get to pick 3 of any skills you want. This changes. Now they specifically are giving us a skill proficiencies in lore-based lore-based skills. So Arcana, History, Nature. Makes sense. Makes total sense. Instead of just being full-on skill monkey, it ties back to the idea that you are the one that's gathered. You're the one that knows a lot of stuff, knows a lot of lore. So we're going to give you the knowledge-based skills. But the good thing is, if you already have proficiencies in those skills, you can choose different skill proficiencies. So it's not like you're feel like you're cheated out. So good. Nothing bad to say about it. It's just solid. It goes a little bit, reinforces the narrative flavor that I think the basic lore bard currently in the game kind of misses at times. It just makes you more of like a skill monkey, which isn't bad. It's just based off the narrative that they want to portray the College of Lore. The current one just says here's skills, and this one says here's some stuff you're gonna need to know. Let's see. Nothing dropped on my end. Okay, I'll keep an eye. Because it's all green. I think it might just be on a YouTube thing. So, are we good now? Are we good? Are we good? Are we good? Okay, cool. Okay, yeah. Then, yeah. So most likely is YouTube being YouTube. So okay. All right. So I can no longer see or hear you. Try and refresh. Because on my end, I'm live. So okay, if everything's good, we'll jump into cutting words. Cutting words. Cutting words. Pretty much no longer can reduce the damage roll on the attack. This is the main thing that sort of damage mitigation was now shifted to the heal of feature that's in the main Bardic Inspiration uses, which is fine. Go become a Periscope streamer. I'm gonna go become a TikTok streamer. That's what I'm gonna do. Let China get all my information. Yep. Or maybe I should go jump over to Twitch and then let them, take all my money now with that 50-50 split. Peace. People out there are just trying to eat. And, big old megacorp Amazon and Twitch just supposedly trying to be profitable. Feel bad for the streamers that are trying to make a living off of there and then, having 20% of their income just like cut off. Hey, Facebook was 100. I used to follow, I still follow some streamers that shipped over to the Facebook. And they got nice fat deals. They are living very comfortably, even despite the viewership drop off. So. All right, but yeah, other than that, cutting words is still roughly the same. It just no longer does the damage mitigation when you get hit. That you can reduce the attack damage by the roll of your Bardic Inspiration die. Because now we got the heal ability for Bardic Inspiration that does that, but better. Because now if they your allies get to drop to 0, you can just heal them. And they can get back up. Cutting Inspiration at 6th level. Through your studies and your cunning, you've learned to inspire others exceptionally well. When another creature rolls your Bardic Inspiration die, that creature can roll the die twice and use the higher of 2 rolls. So your Bardic Inspiration die now has advantage, which is sick. This replaces magical secrets at 6th level. So that's the big trade-off. You're no longer getting access to more spells through the subclass, but you're getting that through your class. And instead now you're giving Bardic Inspiration advantage, which is kind of a cool trade-off. Obviously, people are going to like more spells, but also having advantage on your Bardic Inspiration die is pretty sick. I wouldn't be upset about that. Just get to take the bigger number, especially if it's a heal. And then, okay, so Mark was bringing up improved cutting words. When you use your cutting words feature on a creature, you can deal psychic damage to that creature equal to the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die, plus your Charisma modifier. Oh, healing won't make it through this UA. It breaks short rest healing. Yeah, ooh, that's going to be interesting. So if it doesn't make it, then I don't see them not just putting cutting words back to how it was. They're just having it as a damage mitigation tool. Yeah, I don't see them not, but I personally don't have enough experience seeing it in play, because everybody that plays a lore bard, at least in my play group, after personal experience, they like to hit stuff and spell cast, so they like to play gishes. So we've had multiple sword bards. We've had, I think my cousin is playing a glamour bard, or not the glamour. Well, we had a creation bard. He played it as a gish. I want to say Whispers bard, and he's playing it like a gish. So yeah. So yeah. So the damage mitigation from the original cutting words, if that is a problem and just gets cut completely, I also personally don't feel bad if it goes away either. Okay. So what Initial Board is saying is Bardic Inspiration regens on a short rest, hit die on a long rest. The resource exchange isn't equivalent at all with the scaling of Bardic Inspiration dice. So that is something they will definitely have to look into. Because let me see. Oh, where's Bardic Inspiration die? Slight little track. Yeah, so this only... Interesting. What's the gimmick? Punching someone for 0 to heal them? Bardic Inspiration die healing becomes better than having Barbarian's meaty die. I'm wondering if they're... Yeah, because when does this trigger? I think it triggers after the attack, right? I'm wondering if they're thinking reaction to the damage taken and having it be that specific instance is what's wanting to keep this in check. Maybe that's what they're thinking, but the fact that, yeah, that this is going to refresh on a short rest and the die grows is going to be better than using your healing, your hit die. Yeah. Yeah, actually, true. You can just have your buddy punch you for 1. Yep. Yep. So, yeah, okay. Yep. Improve cutting words whenever you use your cutting words feature on a creature. Okay, we saw that. So, yeah, Mark brought up this is finally a feature that uses your charisma modifier. Excuse me. So yeah, just extra damage. That's a like nice little change. It's nothing exciting. I think this feels a bit boring. While everybody likes extra damage, there's nothing narratively that's like wow here. Especially since now we are getting a 10th level feature that is replacing magical secrets at this level, I believe. Or what did they originally get? I believe it was, yeah, that is replacing magical secrets. Now it's kind of like, okay, well, yeah, it's just a thing you do. And maybe it's just because this is supposed to be like the standard bard, the go-to vanilla option. There's nothing too flashy, and we're kind of seeing that with all the other subclasses too. There isn't anything really too flashy about them. They're just supposed to be that iconic. I'm just gonna go to that option because I want to play the rogue, the bard, the ranger. And then at 14th level, we get peerless skill. Uh, okay, so this one also changed. So this the change triggers not on a failure, and it doesn't expand the Bardic Inspiration die if you still fail the ability check, compared to Peerless Skill. You still get them at the same level. So the original one, you roll a Bardic Inspiration die, and add the number rolled to your ability check. You can choose to do so after you roll the die for the ability check, but before the DM tells you. It's just the change is just to make it straightforward and cleaner to use, and not have that awkward. Well, you didn't use it. You didn't roll it before I said it failed or pass. Or again, removing adversarial DMing, and just says, "Yep, you failed it. Cool." Like most people probably, we play like this. Oh, it failed. Okay, just roll the die. It removes that adversarialness. But other than that, that's really all it can. Makes it cleaner to play. So overall, my thoughts on the Bard. Again, changing the Bard from what they are now to a prepared caster is in general just nicer for gameplay. Again, it removes that weird adversarial DM issue where if a player is not having fun with their chosen spell list, that they don't have to go and ask permission for the DM, and then the DM doesn't have to make the judgment call or spend time or waste that time having to make a decision on something that for most people are going to be trivial. But there are DMs out there that be like, nope, by the book. You chose it, you stick with it. It just gets rid of that issue altogether. Especially too, as players get more invested into this game, they're more knowledgeable about certain spells and certain things that they're either that are more powerful and gratify them in that way in an optimized manner, or they want to play that's a little bit more narrative and they like want to choose that option also. In general, it's just better for overall gameplay for a Bard player. The changes to Bardic Inspiration, while I agree and like them mechanically, and it smooths out gameplay. So now that Bardic Inspiration is now fully in charge and in the realm and control of the Bard player, I personally have a narrative hangup where you're not spending somewhat of a time on your turn to actually write that song, tell that joke, give that speech of inspiration, and have that player hold on to the Bardic Inspiration die and then use it in that time of need. But for me, I can get over my hang up and just for ease of use gameplay and just be like, yep, I'm using it here, I'm using it there. To me though, like maybe they can just change the wording of it just a little bit to fit the narrative a little bit better. So yeah. So there is that. And other than that, the changes to the scaffolding. So now that they get a 10th level feature, now we're going to see in other subclasses for the Bard, they're not going to feel shortchanged compared to other subclasses that other classes get. So now they're all going to at least get 4 to 5 features throughout their career, which is awesome because now like they can go back and update some of the other classes in later editions of this new version. And then now we're going to get to see like Glamour Bard get another feature. You get Spirits Bard get another feature, etc. So, which is awesome. And then overall, though, I'm really liking the change to Bard. It just smooths a lot of the player experience. That's what I'm seeing. That there's nothing that really stands out. I think Taryn Instructor Boy brought up the healing ability. I think that may be getting gutted, most likely getting gutted. But other than that, the small changes to how certain mechanics work and just making it a prepared caster is just really just to smooth out and make it a more seamless for a player to have a more player friendly experience. That's what I'm trying to get at. So yeah. I'd rather see an inspired state where your ally can invoke the inspiration as a reaction or something, but that's if we're assuming reaction is the best home for yeah. I think I want to say when I played a little bit of Pathfinder on the PC, that their version of Bardic Inspiration was like this aura effect. Like they're actively playing music, and then people with any certain area. I could be wrong. It was Kingmaker on the PC. That's what their bard did, and it gave them a pretty much extra die to roll on certain things. But the bard player had to actively be playing music or performing to do that. So yeah, let's jump into the ranger. So first off, we're gonna just straight up say it. Ranger made out like a bandit. Yeah, ranger. Out of all the 3 classes that got shown, rogue has always been like one of my favorite to play classes to play. Ranger's looking sweet. Ranger is looking really, really sick. So there's some the big changes with Ranger. So let's jump into it. They now expertise is now a thing for them instead of being an optional feature from Tasha's. This is now a core feature for the class, aligning them up with the other expert classes. Yeah. And a lot of people complaining about the Ranger. So I'm hoping that since so many people complained about the Ranger and then so many people made complaints about the Monk and then the Sorcerer, we're going to see some of those things too. So yeah, they get expertise. You get 2 shields of your choice. They give you some suggestions with the stealth and survival. Sick. You have utility. A lot of these changes are going to be adding more utility to the class to interact with how people are playing the game now. Originally, the core player's handbook Ranger was based on entirely on the exploration pillar of the game, but as everybody knows, the exploration pillar is highly underdeveloped, and there's not really any solid rules to interact with it besides pass or fail. So now they're kind of changing the Ranger to fit that way. So you're going to see a lot of Tasha's features get brought into core features now. So yeah. So after expertise, we get favored enemy, which gives us Hunter's Mark as a class spell that is prepared. Doesn't count against spells that we have prepared, and we no longer need to concentrate on the spell. So that means you're still going to use your bonus action to cast it. So at least on your first turn, it's going to mess with your action economy a little bit. But say you want to play a 2-handed fighter Ranger, that also gets solved because of how light weapons work now too, which gets 100% changed. So yeah, this is sick. Like, this is what people wanted out of Favorite Foe when they introduced that feature in Tasha's. So I constantly would suggest Favorite Foe to people in a lot of my builds. I've been getting a lot of flack on it, like specifically for saying, hey, take Favorite Foe in a lot of the shorts that I've been doing, because I've done a couple Rangers builds. But the reason I suggest Favorite Foe is because a bonus action, your bonus action economy, because some subclasses just don't work well with it. So Favorite Foe just overcomes that even at the loss of some damage. While we don't necessarily get rid of the bonus action issue, the fact that now we don't have to concentrate on it opens us up to, as a Ranger, to use our other spells that do have concentration. So now we kind of get this is like a little combo, and it's awesome. Like I want to play a Ranger now. This has made me want to play. Just this right here. This has got me excited. Actually, the first 2 features got me excited. Immediately makes me want to design like 20 different enclaves. Yep. Like it just, Ranger looks fun to play now. So yeah. So it still uses your bonus action. You still use your bonus action to go and point it at somebody else. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do this with like Beastmaster Ranger, pretty much Beastmaster Ranger or any other subclasses that currently also still use the bonus action to give you extra damage. I wonder if they're going to change that so that doesn't happen anymore, and that they're just going to add either a different utility feature or add in extra damage. Okay. So on top of Hunter's Mark, so like there's really not much to say. Hunter's Mark is sick. And and then from a design, like being able to, we're gonna see this later, but in the subclass, but having features that trigger off of Hunter's Mark, because it's a core class now, it's gonna be sick. That's probably what they're gonna do. Actually, now that I think about it, that instead of having those extra damage features that were meant to replace Hunter's Mark and some of these subclasses that use your bonus action, they're just gonna have a feature that piggybacks off of Hunter's Mark. in the similar vein that I hope they do that with Paladin Smite, that they have features that piggyback off of Smite or alter your Smite. I hope they do that with the Paladin like they're doing with Hunter's Mark for the Ranger. You'd probably dig Heavy Arms is Ranger Revision Fallen. Yeah, Rules Glossary Light Weapon. We'll get into that later because, oh, man, that light weapon, dual wielding light weapons as a Ranger with Hunter's Mark is looking nice. You're going to be able to play if they, depending on how they work Beastmaster Ranger, you're going to be able to play Dritz. And yeah, and this, I think, Ace brought up, this signals Eldritch Blast for Warlock. So now, yeah, we're probably going to be seeing a similar thing where Warlocks are going to get Eldritch Blast in a similar way. I'm wondering how they're going to use evocations and stuff and change that too. So yeah, this is a good indication of how Warlocks are going to be changed also. Spellcasting. So now they also get spellcasting at level 1. This used to be a second level feature. Now they get it at level 1, and now they get access to cantrips, and they get access to prepared spells. This is sick. So these 3 features alone really cement what a new Ranger wants to be. You're going to have skill utility, and then you're going to have spell utility, and then you're still going to be able to pile on damage. I don't have to say anymore. That's fun right there. Like that you're going to be able to feel useful in a lot of different situations. And even though I think you get access to the primal spell list, but you can pick from any School of Magic except evocation, so you're not going to get the blasty spell list or blasty spells, but that's okay. You got Hunter's Mark, and you're going to be blasting or slashing stuff up with your weapons. Totally sick. So yeah, Rangers are looking good just with these 3 alone. You'll see they're still a half caster. It's just now they're just getting the extra level of cantrips and spells. Other than that, let's drop down because you can prepare it. So they still get access to a fighting style, but now it's a fighting style feat. It also means that later on, instead of, they can also take a feat later on that is also one of these fighting styles, which is cool. If you want to be maybe a little bit more utility-based Ranger, you could, or like have options. Of what I mean by utility, I mean weapon options, where you want to be archery, but you also want to have a dual wield. So you kind of always ready for certain combat scenarios. You can do that. So what I noticed though, let's see, let me bring this up. Fighting styles. What's missing from the Ranger now? So you get to choose one of these fighting style feats. So we get archery, classic bow and arrow, defense, just solid or well-rounded, never bad option. If you don't know what to take, just giving yourself a bonus to your AC is always just solid. But then you also, 2-weapon fighting. Okay, so we get that. So you get the iconic dual wielding Dritz, Dritz-esque build. But now we're missing dueling. Dueling is no longer there. We're just missing dueling. I could have sworn it was 2-handed fighting was down there, but I'm clearly mistaken. We no longer have dueling, which is interesting. It just narrows down what they expect the iconic look of what they expect out of a Ranger. But now it just feels that they really want you to either dual wield, or if you're going to go melee, or pop arrows. Oh, I'd wait to hype till you see how they massacre. Oh, I've read read all this. Yeah, Rogue. It's not that. It Rogue did get nerfed. Rogue got nerfed. Just I still don't think the changes though. There wasn't that many changes though outside of that one nerf. We'll get into it in a second. Other than that, I'm going looking back at something. Yeah, so in terms of just fighting styles, this is what they just want. They want you to either shoot stuff or use two weapons. So no longer, that's what I was looking for. Armor proficiencies, do they give you access to a shield? And that's why I'm surprised there's no dueling. There's no dueling feature. So if you want to play a sword and board ranger, you're going to have to take defense. Whenever you get a feat at later levels, fighting style feats are among your options, even though you aren't a member of the warrior group. Maybe at later level, I think the way that I'm reading this, you get access to all of the fighting style feats. So maybe at level 4, if you really want dueling. Thanks, Eric. Yeah. Also, yes, please go check out Fry Minis. Bander Hobtober is upon us. A big old Bander Hob celebration event for the month of October. Eric's gonna be doing all kinds of fun stuff, and then this year I'm gonna be jumping in and doing some Bander Hob content too. So yes, please go check out Fry Minis. I believe he's doing a stream on Saturday, painting some minis. So if you're wanting to see mini content, definitely go check Eric out. So yeah, thank you, and always, man, thank you for your support. I'm gonna be streaming a lot more. Compare this to the Player's Handbook essay. Okay, sneak attack. That's it. Yeah, we'll get into sneak attack. I know exactly what Indestructible was talking about. Yep. Fighting style. So yeah. So no more dueling. So you can sword and board, just take defense. But yeah, the dueling missing, a little bit of a bummer. I can see why, because there is that iconic look of what a ranger's supposed to be, and that's normally either people played archery or they wanted to wield two weapons. But for me, sometimes I like playing off-beaten archetypes, and I would like a sword and board ranger, or just be a ranger that wields a big old weapon. Okay, ranger subclasses, again, at 3rd level, you start getting access to your subclasses. Yeah. So I'm wondering though, over here, whenever you get a feat at later levels, fighting style feats are among your options, even though you aren't a member of the warrior group. So I'm wondering, just this line alone gives you access to the rest of them, but you can only get them at later levels. So the way I'm reading it, that's what it seems. So yeah, again, 3rd level, subclass features, 4th level of feat, get extra attack, which if you're using dual weapons, this is looking nuts, because that's 3 attacks right there, just going to town. Fighter, dual wielding fighters look nuts too. Like, gross. Like just the way extra attack and then a dual fighting works now. Let's just jump into that, because now we're talking about it. It's light weapon. We're gonna just jump to it really quick. Okay, light weapon property. So you guys understand the reference to what I'm saying. When you take the attack action on your turn and attack with a light weapon in one hand, you can make one extra attack as part of that same action. The extra attack must be made with a different light weapon in the other hand, and you don't add your ability modifier to the extra attack's damage. You can make this attack only once on each of your turns. So the dual wielding no longer uses your bonus action. It's just an extra attack as long as you're using 2 light weapons. This will change depending on certain fighting style feats or just weapon feats you're getting, like dual wielder and stuff, or we'll modify it and modify the weapons you can use for it. But now that I'm looking at it, like a dual wielding fighter with all the attacks that they can get is starting to look stupid dumb too. Dang, so it doesn't work with extra attack. No, it does work with extra attack. It's just a free attack you get. So, with extra attack at 5th level, you get to attack twice, and then since you're dual wielding with the other hand, you get to attack it again. Boom, boom, boom. Like, that's 3 attacks. And then now with Hunter's Mark, boom, that's 3 attacks with Hunter's Mark. That's feels good, man. Like that's really what it comes down to. Ranger feels good. So again, 6th level. We'll keep going. 6th level, another subclass feature. 7th level, we get roving. So this is an ability from Tasha's. This replaces. This comes in at 7th level. So this replaces. I don't even remember the feature that it replaces. Actually, sorry about that. Let's bring up Ranger. It replaces, I believe, the Natural Explorer stuff. It replaces that, brings that at 7th level, moves the Ranger archetype, the subclass feature, down to 6th. So it replaces that. It is from Tasha's, and instead now increases your movement speed as long as you're not wearing heavy armor, and you gain a climb and swim speed. It's pretty much identical to what it was in Tasha's. No complaints there. Light dual Hexblade could be scary if Watsi makes a double. Oh my god. The changes just to light weapons alone opens up just so much like fun power fantasies. Like Voldo from from Soul Calibur, Deadpool. Like it's just anybody, a Blade. Like you get to remake a lot of these characters and play into those fantasies. And then like Dritz, the most iconic D&D character, like it's a thing now. He can be a thing. But yeah, dual Hexblade, light wield, gross. But yeah, again, one of the other features from Tasha's roving is now ported into the core feature. 8th level feat, 9th level expertise again, so we get more expertise options. I believe this also replaced another feature. This is the addition of the anime swordsman. Yeah. Yep. Ooh. Trying to think. I wonder if there is I think there is some sort of potential for a samurai like class for the ranger. I know my brother picked up Legends of the Five Rings, the 5e conversion, and a lot of interesting ideas to play that sort of world that it takes after a lot of Japanese myth and the feudal times, and it's a magic light setting too. It's a very martial focused. And this ranger with his updates to light weapons and dual wielding, like it kind of reminds me of that now. All right, 11th level we get tireless. Again, this is another feature taken from Tasha's alternate features. Now it's just the main class. Pretty much, you're just seeing a lot of what was already suggested in Tasha's just being made and put as a core feature. The only difference is that instead of your temporary hit points gained being 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier, now it is changed to 1d8 plus your proficiency bonus. So they did change it. So it's not reliant, and it's more consistent now that it is based off your proficiency bonus. You're seeing this less reliant on certain stats. Yeah, exhaustion got changed too. We'll jump into that in a second. If you are exhausted when you finish a short rest, your level exhaustion decreases by 1. So that was the same as the Tasha's. Let's go look at exhaustion though. Why? What changed with exhaustion really quick? So exhaustion is now no longer a chart that just gives you debilitating horrific features or just horrific effects on your character, and nobody ran them because it just was a lot of feel bads and just really slowed the game down and always led to a bad time. Now it's manageable. This is something you're going to want to actually use and actually fixes subclasses like the Berserker Barbarian, which would give exhaustion to your character for going to pretty much raging out. So now, if you get a level of exhaustion, it's 1 point that you will remove from your D20 test. So, still, just like the current version of exhaustion, if you get past 10 exhaustion, your character is dead. So that still remains a thing. You get past 10 levels of exhaustion or 10 points of exhaustion. That's really what it is. You're just accumulating points. Your character dies. But for every point of exhaustion that you get, you're going to subtract that number from your D20 test. And then when you finish a long rest, it removes 1 level of exhaustion. So yeah, so a lot cleaner. It's something that now you want to apply pressure onto a player. The DM won't feel bad for doing it, and the players won't take away from their fun. It does add a different level of risk to the game, and I will like this. It's perfectly fine. Like this is awesome. Like this is a good direction to take exhaustion to, and a good tool to give DMs to um create certain conditions to make the game a little bit more difficult, to create a level of challenge for a player that just doesn't suck the complete fun out of the game for them. Because old exhaustion was rough. I don't think, like, I've avoided playing Berserker Barbarian simply because of the exhaustion rules, and I think that happens to a lot of players too. They just don't want to bother looking at that subclass because of how exhaustion is. Does this feel like, often hear people complain about death spiral mechanics? Does this not feel like a worse exhaustion in that sense? No. And let me pull up all exhaustion. Let's explain. We'll look at it. Why exhaustion? So exhaustion, I think simply just having numbers that remove from your D20 test will can accumulate and have you to eventually fail. There's enough other features and abilities you're going to have, either expertise, bardic inspiration, or spells that can make up those loss in hit points. Obviously, the risk and reward mechanic, yes, you could keep pushing your character into levels of exhaustion to push through all these things. And you have other features in the classes that mitigate this. But obviously, you pass that 10th level exhaustion, you just lose your character. But, Rick and Morty, no. Basic rules. But, okay, so this regular exhaustion now is much more of a death spiral mechanic. So disadvantage starts at disadvantage on ability checks. So you're never going to pass anything. Then your speed gauge cuts in half, so now you're slower. Then you get disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. Now you're pretty much not making any hits. Then your hit point maximum is cut in half, and then you just can't walk, and then you're just dead. Like, you get to a certain point where no matter what you do, you're pretty much not playing your character. The newer version of exhaustion still allows you to play the game. You still have a level of mitigation and interaction with the other classes, but eventually you get to past 10 exhaustions, you straight up just lose your character. So it's really going to come down to the conditions and whether a DM enforces exhaustion to really put the pressure on a player, and also if the player decides to do things to continue to push the character to do stuff at the cost of exhaustion. For me, just looking at this, it does help build a level of tension that still feels in the realm of players having the ability to overcome it and be able to beat it and still interact with the game, instead of this right here where it's just like, yep, you're just not passing any checks. Sorry, you're trying to stealth. Too bad, you get caught. Oh, you're still fighting? You didn't rest after that fight? Cool. You're cut in half. You're getting more tired. Oh, now you're not going to be able to attack. Oh, now you don't have half your hit points. Oh, now you just can't move. And then these all stack. So it's just like penalty after penalty after penalty. It's rough. Like, it's rough. Yeah. Yeah, and also we don't know. I think right now we don't necessarily know what things are going to give exhaustion. Right? They didn't really. I don't think in this test they said anything yet about. They just said how it works. Yeah, that's why I think there's going to be more mechanics that help present and give exhaustion, like, and interact with it in a way. I think that's and that's good. Give DMs more tools. That's really what it comes down to. Give DMs more tools to interact with the players and create challenges, but also not create certain challenges that feel impossible. Oh, I'd rather not have my speed half. Mm-mm. But also, mind you, I'm coming in from what I'm thinking. I'd rather not have my speed half because I tend to play a lot of martial characters, So having that ability to move and get to a point where I can actually still do my job of like just holding that front line, um, sucks. Like I don't want my speed cut in half. But like if you're playing a lot more ranged characters, you tend to play a lot more spellcasters. I can see not wanting just to take the your movement speed cut in half, and not just take that loss in to your rolls. There's yeah, like even my artificer right now is pretty much a frontliner. I'm playing battlesmith, not enjoying it, but I'm playing a battlesmith built to be a frontliner. But I'm gonna change that soon. Hopefully, we got a big fight on Saturday. We're taking on a primordial, so I'm looking to help tank that a little bit. But then I'm gonna switch to a ranged build. All right, so excuse me. All right, so where are we at? Where are we at? Okay, we're at tireless. We're now feet again at 12. Nature's Veil. So Nature's Veil again is a feature from Tasha's ported into the core class. Recurring theme. Tasha's features were that much loved that they're just making them core features now. Cool. Taken from Tasha's. Uh, okay, hold on. Yeah, I'm getting lost in my notes. This now comes in at 13th level, as opposed to, I believe, it was coming in. Let me see the optional class features. Here we go. Here we go. As opposed to coming in at 10th level, so we do get it a little later, right? So now the big change though is from the version from Tasha's is that um it makes you invisible for a turn as a bonus action, but now uses a spell slot. But it uses any spell slot. So it doesn't matter. It just cares that you use a spell slot to cast invisibility for a turn, compared to the Tasha's version where you just use it as a bonus action, but you can use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. So it uses one of your resources, right? And it kind of could feel bad. We get that 13 level, but since it uses any spell slot, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times at the 13th level that you get it. You can use it 11 times compared to the 5 times. Will you be using it a lot? Will you be using it a lot? I think it's a definite utility feature, but also offensively, given that it's invisibility. You pop this on yourself as a bonus action, and then all your attacks will be at advantage because the person attacking, as long as they don't have blind sight or any other supernatural sight that can let you see, all your attacks are going to be with advantage. So it increases your likelihood of hitting, which is still solid for 13 level. And also, any attack until your next turn is going to be done to you at disadvantage. And if they're trying to shoot you at range, since they can't see you, they can't even target you. So it's just overall, you can use it more because it doesn't matter what kind of spell slot you're using. So I don't see it as bad as if somebody were to say it's a nerf because it's using spell slots and not proficiency bonus. Yeah, it's basically the samurai fighter feature subclass. Yeah, but bonus action versus to gain advantage, but you're also invisible. End of your next turn. Oh, see, it's even Jesus. End of your next turn. So yeah, like, so now you take this. Okay, you have Hunter's Mark on already, right? You take this. You're a dual wielding fighter. You already have extra attack. That's 1, 2, 3 attacks with Hunter's Mark all with advantage. If people said Hunter or Ranger suck, this is like they don't now. They don't. You use Hunter's Mark round 2. Yeah. Yeah. This legit could have been the class capstone, but now it's at level 13. Now you say this could be the class capstone, but here's the thing: you can actually use it because we actually have adventures that play this. We can actually feel good and use this at level 13 instead of having it over here where it's there and we'll never get to touch it. Yeah, like yeah, I know from a design point, you're saying yeah, it's so good that it should be here, but none of us are gonna be mad. This is here and like it's there and it's usable. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's why I like it. Like this is another thing. Like, am I a ranger main this next update, this next edition? I don't know. Okay, subclass feature again at 14th, 15th level, feral senses. I believe this got a slight change. This got moved down to 15th. So it got moved down. It originally was, let's go back. I believe it was higher. Yeah, feral senses was originally at 18th. Now it got moved down to 15th. And does making an attack break invisibility? Ooh, that's something. Not this invisibility. Buff Ranger Blind Sense, take away rogues. We'll get into the rogues in a second. It's called. So yeah, so this got moved around and got moved lower, so now we get it much sooner. And also gets cleaned up. The wording on the original one pretty much gave you blind sense. Or blind sight, excuse me, but didn't really do it in a way that the language said you had blind sight, and now they just said, yeah, you have blind sight. So let's look at the old one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably better than the original version. So yeah, the original version, you're also aware of the location of invisible creatures within 30 feet of you, provided that the creature isn't hidden from you and you aren't blinded or deafened. So you can see invisible creatures as long as you aren't blind or deafened. So yeah, you get blind sight with a range of 30 feet. So let's see. Let's see what blind sight. I'm pretty sure. Do we have? We have a dagger of blind sight, but where the hell is it just blind sight? I just want senses. Of course, it's gonna be in here. Senses rules. Monster with blind sight can perceive surroundings without relying on sight within a specific radius. Creatures without eyes, such as Grimlocks and Grey Oozes, typically have the special sense, as your creatures with echolocation or heightened senses. This monster's naturally blind. Okay, so pretty much we can see without sight. We just kind of have a 30-foot perimeter and see where things are at. Also, old feral sense just doesn't actually work. Let's see. When you attack a creature you can't see, your inability to see it doesn't. Oh, well, yeah, right there. You can't attack a creature you can't see. It's literally the point of not being able to see a creature. That's why at full cover, when you're under full cover, you can't attack you can't be attacked because the creature can't see you. So, yeah. That's just with full cover. Now, if you're invisible and somebody's trying to attack you, unless they know where you're at, they can't make an attack against you because they can't see you. Yeah. So cannot use blind sight to cast spells. You need to see the target. Hey, thanks for the sub, Ben. Thank you. It doesn't give you a sense, doesn't overcome visibility. It tells you basically nothing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is in general, it's better and you get it sooner. You can attack enemies you can't see. Is it just then when you have full cover, you just can't be targeted, right? Okay. Yeah, I think Yeah, I'm getting full cover with invisibility a little mixed up. Oh, awesome. Hey, thanks. Thanks for the double sub. So yeah, so now spells couldn't target though. Okay. All right. So pretty much what we're seeing now is that Feral Senses now gives us a working ability. So overall, a buff. We have something that actually works instead of this. And then Foe Slayer gets moved down to 18th level instead of 20th, like all the other capstones. But it changes. So original Foe Slayer was at 20th level. On each of your returns, you can add your Wisdom modifier to the attack roll or the damage roll of an attack you made against one of your favorite enemies. You could choose to use this feature before or after the roll, but before any effects of the roll are applied. Pretty much, if you're not fighting the thing that you said you hate, this is a dead ability. Now, your Hunter's Mark just gets buffed, so it just works. And not just from a D6 to a D8. It goes full on to a D10. This is ridiculous. Yeah. +2 attack damage with Hunter's Mark up. And then now, like, yeah, this just needs to be 2d6. Interesting. Is there a change in damage? Or does it kind of equate to the same thing, but it just, like, levels out? I consider this actually worse, probably unpopular opinion. Oh, the gradient is weird? Okay. Well, because I'm also thinking a D10 Hunter's Mark, right? And then 3 attacks. If you're doing dual wielding, which is like, that looks favorable, like, to me. Like that 3 attacks with Hunter's Mark and all get a D10, that looks favorable to me. Like, that looks good. That's why I was like, I'm looking at the potential just like that. But compared to this, Boots, I like the older one better because I like the new one better because it's consistent. This one, and again, it's very DM dependent. The DM should put enemies and have you face enemies you hate, and also as a player, you're probably gonna pick enemies you hate depending on the campaign. But I've seen it happen where players pick something that's not featured in the campaign. Like, you're playing Storm King's Thunder, but you don't pick giants as your main enemy, as your favorite foe, you know? Or you're playing Horde of the Dragon Queen and you don't put dragon, right? But then there's also like homebrew games, and you guys is kind of just traveling and kind of just doing the standard adventuring thing, and where you're just going from arc to arc, and there isn't really a core villain you're always going to be facing that's a specific type of creature. I could see this being dead at times. Wow. This is just always on. The new version is just always on. I just like both an old and new equally. Okay, let me see. I think I'm missing something with the old one. Okay. Okay, yeah. So that's what I'm missing right here. Because you can also add that wisdom to your attack roll, so you can actually be accurate. It's getting changed for the same reason. Press, yeah, it's ease of use, ease of play. Yeah, I could see the arguments just specifically for the attack roll to make sure you're a little bit more accurate. But yeah, overall, hunters. All right, let's go look at hunter. This is the hunter's already a bland subclass in the main book, so it's kind of like another bland, like you're more bland here. But the features all get moved around. Actually, they all get moved up because I believe The Ranger originally had a 7th level feature instead of a 6th, and an 11th level feature instead of a 10th, and then a 15th instead of a 14th. So they just realigned them to fit with fit alongside the other expert classes. So Hunter is supposed to be the standard Ranger, but even in this one, Hunter kind of got it's not they got nerfed. It's just they're not flashy. Actually, I would even say nerfed. I would say they got nerfed because their options are now removed. So let's start off Hunter's Prey. And we're going to bring up here. Hunter's Prey in the old version gave you the option between 3. Pretty much you could choose 3 options to boost your damage. In this new version, pretty much you're only getting Colossal Slayer. Yeah. And Short is right. They took the most picked options. They picked the options people tend to gravitate towards and just said, yeah, we're just going to keep it at that. Maybe that'll open that up so that these other options will get moved into other subclasses or into other features and abilities or feats, something. Because I think like Hordebreaker, like being able to hit other creatures off of attacks is actually pretty cool. I think we see that in one of the feats. I believe Great Weapon Master. We'll get into it in a bit. So yeah, I'm hoping they do bring some of these ideas back. But yeah, so when you hit a creature with a weapon or unarmed strike as a part of your attack action on your turn, the weapon or unarmed strike deals an extra D8 damage to the target. If it's missing any of its hit points, you can deal this extra damage only once per turn. Okay, so the thing with unarmed strike, if I'm thinking correctly, if you grapple or shove with the unarmed strike, you still do the D8? If I'm interpreting this right, the way unarmed strike is coded, whenever you make an unarmed strike, you can either hit them, grapple them, or shove them. So this just adds the D8 onto any of those options for the unarmed strike. Which is sick. If true, which is awesome. Like, so yeah. If I'm thinking this right, that's how it's like being, because that's kind of cool. I grapple you really, really hard, and you take a D8 damage. I will shove you to the floor, and you take damage for hitting the floor. A D8. That's the way I'm interpreting, which is cool. That's on some luchador stuff that I'm working on. That actually has subclasses kind of do that stuff too. So yeah, original Colossal Slayer. Whenever you make a weapon attack, so the old version only cares if you make a weapon attack, meaning it never works with unarmed strike. Now this works with unarmed strike, but it's still creature still has to be below their hit point maximum, and it's still only once per turn. Yeah, and the way it's written right now, it's like, yeah, unarmed strike, like you're unintentionally grappling and shoving people to deal damage. I can understand narratively the shove. You're shoving them so hard they hit the ground. Or maybe because it says when the weapon or unarmed strike deals an extra unarmed strike. Yeah, this needs to be rewritten so that when you deal damage with the unarmed strike. Because right now, as written, I'm assuming as a grapple and shove. That's funny. Oh. Okay, at 6th level Hunter's Lore, you can call on the forces of nature to reveal certain strengths and weaknesses of your prey. While the creature is marked by your Hunter's Mark, you know whether that creature has immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities. I normally shy away from meta knowledge abilities, but this just hits the flavor for the for what you expect a ranger should be able to do. You're using Hunter's Mark, and it flavors Hunter's Mark to give you information. That is sick. Like that I want more features to do this. Yeah. Just I hope this signals too that they do look into Paladin and do this. Because like Paladin Smite having a feature like that, whenever you smite, your subclass does this. Triggers off it. I know was it the Oath of Glory has something like that. Whenever you smite with your thing, you can use your channel divinity to do something special. But man, just like for right now, yeah, it's only for the hunter. Right now, we don't know any of the other features because I can see something like this for Beastmaster, right? Your hunter's mark something, and your pet gets something that benefits for the hunter's mark. Oh yeah, I feel yeah. But again, you're getting meta knowledge. In reality, given what we know, and if since it looks like Monsters of the Multiverse is mainly the main book that is backwards compatible with One D&D so far. If they don't change and update how immunities, resistances, and vulnerabilities are, like this, it's like cool. You kind of know this, but most of the creatures are just gonna be immune or resistant to everything. Like you're gonna know those. You're very rare if something has a vulnerability, and I think that's where something like that really shines. Having that knowing what to exploit, because knowing, while cool, it's knowing, hey, don't use these damage types, right? A player will feel more powerful and feel like they're overcoming a challenge if they have a feature that gives them knowledge and they know how to exploit and open up that vulnerability. Unfortunately, just the way monsters are written, there's not a lot of vulnerabilities, so it's like one of those things. Like, cool, we know not what not to use, but what do we exploit? What can we? What lets us open up? Because it goes back to like Pokemon and even like Final Fantasy. Like you're fighting certain monsters. It's like, okay, cool, just don't use these spells. But what are they weak against? So I can use that a lot. Yeah, yeah. But I'm hoping more features like this. Like every hunter gets, or every ranger gets a hunter's mark feature that alters their hunter's mark. That'd be awesome. Because it's very apparent, despite the changes to Hunter's Mark and all this other like damage boost, they're still wanting to add more damage. Like you're still going to be doing way more damage as a ranger. Yeah, that really assumes all players have meta knowledge of the entire monster menu. You know. Yeah. So glad to see that they are exploring this design. I want them to do it more with other classes. Now we get into the other classes that have like a core identity feature, like Paladin Smite, for example, that has the opportunity to have subclass features that are a little bit more active, that can really enforce the flavor of the class. Because right now, my big critique of Paladins, uh, pretty much at third level, you have extra spells that you can use, and you have your channel divinity, but they all kind of play the same. You're using your smite to do stuff, and eventually you get your aura, and you kind of just stand there. So for me, that's like, yeah, if they're doing this with Ranger, I want to see that with Paladin too. There's a lot of opportunity to make Paladin feel a little bit more active with their subclass and have the flavor of the subclass brought out a lot more. All right. So multi attack. So this did get changed. So multi attack will let's see. Multi attack. So just want to see. Multi attack, you get to pick two options. Pretty much the intention is the same. They're both allowing you to hit multiple creatures with a single attack. The thing is with the why you had different options, because one was coded for ranged attacks, one was coded for melee attacks. They both want you to hit multiple creatures. This gets rid of that and now just gives you Conjure Barrage that you can actually cast down, which is a cool thing that they're doing. So a Conjure Barrage, I believe, let's pull up the spell. Conjure Barrage lets you hit creatures in a cone for 3d8, I believe. Conjure Barrage. Right? Let you hit them in a 60-foot cone. They have to make a dex save, and they take 3d8 damage on a failed and half as much on a successful one. The way this works now is like if you cast it down, so if you cast it at second level, now it only does 2d8. If you cast it at first level, it only deals 1d8. Yeah. Cool. It cleans it up. There's no awkwardness of having to pick an option, especially if you're in a situation where you took volley, but you have to be in melee. That never gets turned off now. Or vice versa. You need to play at range, but you can't hit multiple creatures because you took whirlwind. This just says, yeah, you can just, doesn't matter. You use conjure and then you can downcast it, which I'm hoping they kind of like bring this into other features, like other spells, iconic spells and stuff like that get kind of based into the class. You can use Dragon Breath, a Dragonborn Breath weapon. Yeah, like I think the big criticism, like people are saying, it just doesn't do a lot of damage. I don't think the intention was to do a lot of damage. I think it was just try to hit multiple things at once. They were trying to compare it to Fireball, but like Fireball is it's over two, like it's overpowered on purpose. Conjure Barrage should have just been a first level doing 1d8 upscale. Yeah, I agree with that too. No, they should easily could have just been that you just scale it up. But I'm wondering if they're going to do this with other features and other like spells. So it's cool. Yeah, but Fireball was 5 levels ago. Yeah. But at the same time, I don't know. Giving the ranger the option to hit multiple creatures is good, but also I don't know if they should be as good as like a blaster. It's very apparent that they are going to be very, very good at taking, like, singling out a creature and just beating the hell out of them. Also, what I'm noticing too, since this is going to be based off a deck save, there is room for the DM to speed up gameplay. So with the old version, right, we have to make separate attacks for every single one creatures that we can target, right? Depending on how DMs run deck like saving throws, if it's just like, okay, you're just targeting a bunch of minions. Obviously there's gonna be some DMs that just roll one die for every minion, or they just roll one die for the entire group. So there's room to speed up gameplay, which I'm seeing that a volley and whirlwind attack kind of eat up time in gameplay. So there is that option there that I notice, like in terms of table play. Other than that, yeah, like I think the biggest criticism, like for this, while definitely it's cool that you can downcast it, that people are going to be upset with the damage. Yeah, what's the ranger spell DC going to be? Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Again, this is the third time they made a 10 to level subclass feature that's significantly worse than Fireball. It's uninspired. Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm thinking this is going to be more of those, like, they're trying to find an option that can give you a little bit more ease of use to speed up gameplay, and then more so than actually giving you a powerful option. That's my only trying to think why they would give you this compared to something like Fireball, but also we don't know what they're going to do to Fireball, right? Well, we haven't seen Fireball yet, or unless I've completely skipped it. It also uses the spell slot again. Stop using the same resources. Well, they're a half caster. They're gonna have to use resources. They gave you this because every video game ranger does this, and that is true. I think what is it? I've been playing a game called Skull. It is a roguelike. You're a little skull creature that puts on different heads, and then you get different powers based on it. They have like a ranger, and exactly that. There is a pretty much they get a feature, they get a little ability that does conjure barrage. So yeah, this is. I think Indestructible Boy brings up a good point. This is a fantasy fulfillment, whether it's powerful or not. Hail of Thorns is a thing. True. Yeah, I'm not. I agree with you. It is underpowered. Yeah, Hanzo's geometry shot. Pretty much. Yeah, Hanzo's dragon spirit arrow. Like I can see that. Yes, I've been addicted to Skull. I think the other one was, but I think the way that it's written, it's clunky as hell because you have to pick two options, and if you're not in a situation where you're going to be able to use it, then it's turned off, which sucks. Like that's a feel bad, and that's the big recurrent theme of like these changes. They're trying to prevent players from having those feel bad moments and just have this very very streamlined, smooth, fun game. You get to do the things you expect to do. Okay, they made us. I see that as a problem with this. Yeah, I see that too. Definitely. You can use your action to make a melee attack against any number of creatures within 5 feet of you with a separate attack roll for each. Okay, I'm not gonna get stun locked on this one. It is what it is. When the what's it called? The survey comes out, tell them this sucks. Tell them you don't like it. Tell them that you want to see them do a little bit more with this. I do agree with you guys. There's other ways to fulfill this fantasy. There's a lot of different ways. Zephyr Strike. Ooh. And that I'm actually happy, like, be able to use Zephyr Strike with Hunter's Mark and all that stuff now. To be so sick. Okay, last thing. So we can just jump into Rogue so Flute Sluice can tell us how upset he is about the Rogue sucking now. 14th level, Superior Hunter's defense. When you are hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage against yourself. You can redirect the other half of that damage to one creature other than the attacker that you can see within 5 feet of yourself. So, let me see. What's the difference? Okay. So this one now is coming in at 14. Originally was at 15. This is definitely a big change. So let's bring up the old one. So, again, they removed the 3 options you could choose from, gave you 1. But now you can redirect, like, not only could you just take half damage, because pretty much it's evasion, but now the half that you would resist and don't take, you just redirect it to somebody else. Sick. Yeah, that's sick. I like it. Yeah. Here we go. It pretty much mixes Uncanny Dodge and Evasion together. Not mad at it. Sick. It's solid. I think in general though, with the Ranger, at least Hunter, it's pretty milk toast. Like it is what it is. Like it's just, and I think that's the general consensus with a lot of these subclasses right now, that they're just giving us the iconic, if you just want to play that thing subclasses, which is fine, but I think there's more to be desired. These are definitely going to be geared towards newer players. So like us looking at this that are very enfranchised, very, very involved in the game, we're just like, oh, okay, it's it. Like snooze. Where's the next one? We want to see for Ranger. We want to see the Beastmaster. We want to see the Gloom Stalker. We want to see these other subclasses that have a way more flavor and give us a better narrative direction. I th- and and while I understand they don't lean into that harder with these subclasses, they are new player friendly. I think that's an opportunity for them to really try to find a stronger narrative to really reinforce something. Because yeah, especially for franchise players, like for us that are really, really involved in the game, like me building something based off of like flavor, I'm gonna take the flavored option more so than hunters, unless like a hunter option for ranger is just mechanically solid, and I have a character that doesn't fit with the other concepts. So yeah. So again, overall though, Rangers are looking sick. Like they are looking great. They really took to heart a lot of the lessons they learned and a lot of the issues that players had with it, and just pretty much took all the Tasha's features, tweaked them more, and just said, "Yeah, this is our Ranger now." So yeah. So yeah, I have no complaints like, outside of like Hunter subclass is looking pretty vanilla, but it's expected. But I really hope that them altering the Hunter's Mark feature carries over to all the other classes. That'd be amazing. So far, I'm not that happy. All right, I see. I can just sense that Flute's fingers are itching right now to just type. Let's get into Rogue. So overall, the Rogue had some nerfs, but overall changes to how the class, like different abilities and stuff that they changed. It's not as drastic as the others, but they did nerf it, and we'll skip over expertise. It's exactly the same as what we expected. But sneak attack vastly changes. This changes 100%. So, yeah, exactly. Mark said it. No more opportunity reaction sneak attack damage. Sneak attack damage only comes online on your turn now. You still have to have either advantage or you have to have an ally adjacent. Like that's it. Like no longer can you have something like a commander strike from a Battlemaster fighter let you on your reaction to attack them, and then you get to also get sneak attack on somebody else's turn. No more. Well, tools checks are totally different this UA. Oh, I did skip over something. I try to look as much as I can on while I was at work today. I got through a lot of it. I try to get through the meat. I'll have to double back and look at the tools again. They also didn't clarify how sneak attack works with crits, like I was watching for. All right, so if somebody can answer me, did they walk back the crit rules from the previous UA? Because if not, and if we're going to consider these two UAs together, that they need to go hand in hand, then if that's the case, sneak attack no longer works with crits. Okay, crits are the same as a 2014 D&D. Cool. Then you get to add damage. Cool. Okay, then yeah, you're fine. Then yeah, smites and sneaks are back at the normal. Yeah, I don't understand if they were just trying to create like a more streamlined cohesiveness when it comes to like what crits are supposed to be used for. But even if they try to say it's balanced, it doesn't like there's a fantasy fulfillment when that happens. It just players just feel good, man. Like just let it let it happen. Like that. Like those are it creates those moments that people remember. It's like, oh damn, remember when you critted and landed that nasty smite on that dragon, and we ended up like being alive with like 1 HP. Like it's those kind of moments. Pretty much, I just remembers that scene in like I think it's like the first episode of the current season of Stranger Things where they're playing D&D, and then they're fighting Vecna. And it's like that. That's why you leave the crit and the weapon damage. That kind of how it is. Okay, so yeah, that's the big thing with sneak attack. It no longer it has to work on your turn. That's it. Um, I don't. Part of me wants to believe that originally it wasn't intended that sneak attack was supposed to work on somebody else's turn. I think that's what it was, but maybe that's why they changed it to be like way more concise. But yeah, like kind of sucks because flavor wise, being able to sneak attack not on your turn makes a lot of sense narratively. You're kind of getting that little cheap shot in. So it's like I could see why that may have been why they left it in or wrote it that way in the first place too. Okay, this totally kills the fantasy of the you exploited creature's bad tactical decision not to disengage. Yeah, like that's so. I'm probably gonna be like in the survey, tell them add that part back in because there is a level fantasy. Even when I played a rogue early on, I didn't realize that's how it was written, so I didn't use it. But now that I know better and have played the game longer, when I go back to playing a rogue at some point, I'm gonna miss it if they don't put it back in. The rewarded melee rogues, yeah. There's now zero reason to play a melee rogue. Also, let's see what the change. The ally adjacent target. At least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the target. The ally is incapacitated, and you don't have disadvantage on the attack roll. Okay, so that I think that is the other change, right? You can't have disadvantage either. Oh no, it's the same. You don't have advantage on the attack roll if another enemy of the target is within. If another enemy. Okay, I'm reading this weird. Oh, okay. Okay. At least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the target. The ally is incapacitated. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's the major thing. No longer on your turn. It removes the cheap shot fantasy. So, definitely, I think people are gonna be like, just change it back. Just give us that little extra oomph. It for me, it rewards tactical play. Like, and that's the thing I think a lot of people are kind of missing at times. That they want to feel rewarded for like having these setups and actually comboing abilities and your action economy together. Because as of right now, like marshals don't have a lot of these options, and just because magic just dominates action economy. Um, Rewarding and allowing marshals to use their abilities to combo with each other in a case of like setting up a commander strike or something that allows the rogue to attack on their off turn, and then rewarded for activating sneak attack. It's a good fantasy fulfillment. Yeah, the only reason I'd play a melee rogue is because I can now attack twice with the attack action with a light weapon while then disengaging with a cunning ash as a bonus action. Yep. They may give it back in a subclass potentially. It shouldn't be hidden tech, yeah, and I think that's a thing too. Because when I was playing, I never used it when I played more Arcane Trickster. All right, Thieves Cant. Let's go down to this one. Okay, now you still learn Thieves Cant as a language, but also you get to choose another language, either from the standard language or rare language tables. Originally, Thieves Cant just allowed you to learn Thieves Cant and some version of sign language that was exclusive still to Thieves Cant. Now you just get a whole other language required, like proficiency, which is cool. More again, adding this is really more for RP and utility, and not a bad thing. Cutting action on your turn as a bonus action, dash, disengage, hide. What everybody's used to, nothing different there. Rogue subclasses come on at 3rd level. You get a feat, Uncanny Dodge. Uncanny Dodge. Still the same. Subclass feature. This is the big change right here for this mid-level. So much gold. 6 levels now you get a feature. So originally Rogue had a 3rd level feature, and then you would have to wait until 9th level. So you would get weird situations where a lot of the rogues felt like they played the same early on, and you have really one core ability that really you had to hinge yourself on, but everything else, everybody had a rogue. Or sometimes subclasses didn't feel like their flavor was fully online until you hit 9th level. And like you see this in the case of like the Phantom Rogue, you get these 2 features at 3rd level, but the subclass really didn't kick on, and the flavor didn't kick on until you hit 9th. Yeah, and I care. Yeah, and the short word brings up a good point. We are no longer backwards compatible. So I was very much in the camp of they're not going to change too much how the class structures work. They're going to really try to make it backwards compatible. Seeing this update now, I am now in the. I've pretty much admit that I'm wrong, and say this is new edition territory. Like we're going to take the basis of 5e of like action economy and some of the core rules that everybody likes, but we're in new edition territory. Like there's the way that this class is now redone. There's no doubt now that we're pretty much Tasha's is no longer viable. Xanathar's is no longer viable in terms of player options. And then we still have, and that might be why we haven't really seen subclasses in a lot of these newer books that are going to come out next year. Because I think Dragonlance has one, right? Hey, later, buddy. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, Dragonlance is coming out with one subclass, and then we have 2 subclasses in the Giant book. Like that's it. Like there's no, and even then, like you might not have really an incentive to buy them now, unless like you still have like a full other year. But if the way that these are going to be structured in a way that they're not really backwards compatible, you might not have to skip out those books. Yeah, or maybe 3 in the Giant book. Yeah, see? The Druid, the Barbarian, and then it was the Rune one, right? So yeah, so we're definitely in that territory of this is definitely a 6th edition. Yeah. So, but even then, after all these books, we're only getting 3 subclasses. But like Spelljammer, all those races, they function with the new stuff. Anything in Monsters of the Multiverse functions. So it's gonna be interesting. Definitely gonna be really interesting how what level of backwards compatibility they're gonna do, and also for setting books, the early setting books, since they were built around early 5e. I'm hoping people on the DMs Guild do work on some of those player options, like the Ravnica and the Eberron stuff. So, yeah. Okay. Anyway, back to this. Uncanny Dodge, same subclass feature at 6. New expertise again. Another feat, Evasion. I believe. This got pushed back. So this originally was at 7th level. Then they pushed it back to 9th, but it's identical. The only thing is you're just getting it later. There's no change to it. Then you get a reliable talent. Let me just double check. I don't have notes for reliable talent. I think when you make an ability check that lets you use your proficiency bonus, you can treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. I believe it's ability check that uses one of your skill or tool proficiencies. You can treat a d20 roll of a 9 or lower as a 10. I believe that did get a slight change. Okay. Okay. So this did get changed. It's based off of things you're proficient with, and not just whenever you use your proficiency bonus for the ability check. So yeah, there's that that wording. Other than that, still functions like it's intended to, with your just to make you more reliable when you're making your skill checks. Reliable talent can't apply to initiative anymore because there isn't a skill tied to initiative. That's another thing to bring up too. In that, and I didn't even know. See, but then again, I never played a rogue at this high much level. No more funny Haragon with a minimum of 27 initiative. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. I don't know why you need 27 initiative though. It's just gonna go first anyway. Then you're gonna beat. I think for me, it's like, okay, you're seeing that big number of initiative. I think it's just more like one of those things that you can. Yeah, because it's funny. Yeah, it's like you're doing it because you can, not because it's like you need to. I think after a certain point of getting a certain level of bonus to your initiative, you're just always going to go first. I have a 27 initiative for the meme. I am Chungus with a 27 initiative. All right, again, feat at 12th level, 13th level. This is where we see a change. We get subtle strikes. So this replaces blind sense that would normally come in at 14th, because at 14th level we're getting a subclass feature. So we replace blind sense with pack tactic. So you're replacing blind sense with pack tactic. So this is so blind sense only allows you to be aware of a location of any hidden or invisible creature within 10 feet of you. So it's very, very limited sight. Or rangers in comparison got a way bigger buff for their blind sight. You're replacing this for more reliable attacks. So it's not like you're already gonna have sneak attack on because you have a friend next to the target that you're attacking. But now it's just you're getting advantage. And I'm assuming this is to shore up uh ranged rogues where they only get a single attack. That it feels like if once they miss, that's it. When you attack, you know how to exploit a target's distraction. You have advantage on an attack on any attack roll at the target creature that is within 5 feet of at least one of your allies who isn't incapacitated. For dual wielding melee rogues, both of their attacks will have advantage because it's written in a way that as long as you're making an attack roll, you have advantage on any attack roll that targets a creature that is within. So does this apply to opportunity attacks? That's what I'm thinking. It does too. What if I can use steady aim pretty reliably at third level? Yeah, mind you, yeah. Steady aim has only been a thing since Tasha's, right? So I wish they would have had it early on, right? Steady aim, yeah, steady aim. So that's still more recent. So yeah, so there has been a chunk of time where we didn't have this. So now like looking at it now, yeah, you can just use this at third level. But I could see that for like a very, very large part of time that they didn't have that. So yeah, it's like it's solid. I think the blind sense does give you a lot more utility. But then again, now with the way the feats and stuff are kind of structured, where you're now getting feats, you might be able to replicate that now. Yeah, this is definitely good for melee. Yeah. Like I don't mind it. Like giving yourself like getting pack tactics is like nobody's gonna be mad. Yeah. Yeah, so far they're removing steady aim, but it's backwards compatible. You know, supposed backwards compatible. Pretty much, I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to replace a lot of features and a lot of discussion and make it more streamlined to talk to your DM about stuff. But then their answer is going to be, uh, well, just talk to your DM and let your DM decide whether it's fit for your game if you're going to use it for to be backwards compatible. You're going to have a lot of that discussion now, which negates the whole point of like changing certain play styles. It should be. You're looking at it like steady aim. I don't see why this wouldn't be. Yeah, still you can use that as bonus action technically since you get it. It's a third level rogue feature. Like you could just slot this in. Oh no, you can't hold your attack if you don't have sneak attack conditions on your turn. Mm-hmm. Interesting. All right. Um, I expect to see some of these abilities go into subclass features, allowing the subclasses to also help design your play style of play in combat. I'm hoping so too. We only get the thief. We're almost done with this one. Okay, and then we get slippery mind. Um, so this is relatively the same, but now in addition to getting proficiency in wisdom saving throws, you also get charisma saving throws. So a nice little bump. You get an extra little protection to protect you against like mind control and stuff like that, and charm effects and all that stuff. Not mad at that. Really, really solid protection. I believe. Yeah, that is as is. Let's see. Another feat at 17. Elusive moves from 18th level down to 17th, and but it's the same. It's exactly the same. And then Stroke of Luck moves from 18 to 20, and it's the same. So, and if again, uh, Rogue has very select changes, right? Obviously, the change to sneak attack, which has the potential to be walked back. I really do think that does have the potential to be walked back. With enough people saying, "Hey, let's change it back to it," and then you have the change to subtle strikes, right? Stroke of Luck changed. I think they just changed the wording to use D20 test, right? Can apply to saving throws. Oh, okay, so okay, better, right? Better then. You can also apply to saving throws. D20 test. Yeah, sick. But other overall, Rogue has probably been the least complained about class because it's one of the classes that in general you've seen a lot of discussion or people bring up like surveys and stuff about the Rogue. A lot of people were just satisfied with it. They just like you feel like a rogue. Like the subclass does make you feel like you're a rogue, so that's why you don't really see too many changes. Um, the one happy change I am glad that they are doing is changing the subclasses and bringing a 6th level feature in because now that you can actually fully realize the fantasy. That's probably my biggest critique of the rogue class. But overall, when I've played a rogue, I have fun with it. Yeah, I just I felt good. But also, again, I was playing Arcane Trickster, so you feel like you get extra features because of your spell progression. So that 6th level miss of like you not having an ability, well, you have spells in place of that. But the other subclasses, I can understand that the fantasy is not fulfilled because you have to wait till 9th level. Yeah. Again, and that's why you don't see too many changes of the rogue. You see some light tweaks and a bit of a nerf, but it's still like compared to the other two, relatively untouched. All right. Now, subclass wise, because I know I'm running longer. Subclass wise, let's see. Okay, so thief gets some changes. Now they're having the search action for fast hands. So no fast hands, the big change is no longer has to use an object action with a cunning action. Instead, as a part of your cunning action, you can use the search action, or you can use sleight of hand. And let's see, which both really changed on how this really works. Um, let's see, search action. Yeah, search action is part of these other actions that got added. There's a bunch of stuff. Search action. So when you take a search action, you make a wisdom check to discern something that isn't obvious. The search table suggests which skills are applicable when you take this action, depending on what you're trying to detect. So with a search action, if you are trying to find the creature's state of mind, you use insight. Creature's ailment, medicine. Perception to see if you can find a creature or an object, and survival for food. In contrast, want to briefly bring it up. There is another one called study. That's study action. Might as well show you guys now. With this type of action, you can use knowledge skill, so Arcana, to know about certain things, certain areas of expertise. History, to know about historic events. Investigation, about traps, riddles, ciphers, gadgetry. Nature, general, the flora and fauna and terrain of an area, and also certain beasts or creatures that are in the area. And religion, obviously deities and religious hierarchies, how church and cults and holy symbols, etc. And certain extraplanar creatures, right? So, really quickly, these actions codify skills, and really, the main thing is they're giving you actions to do something you probably already do in the game that was really ambiguous. So now it just says, hey, in order to do one of these things, it takes an action to do it. So, search and study, pretty much, study is a knowledge action. I want to gain information about some sort of topic, while search is I'm trying to uncover something about a specific person or thing. Right? They're both information collection actions. The way I see it, and it just codifies them in a way that makes it so it's easier to comprehend and understand, instead of left in a weird ambiguous state that it currently is with fifth edition. So we'll get into magic action and jump action in a after all this, because those are also two new other actions. But I wanted to just briefly touch on those because they're cool. Like, it just makes it easier to comprehend and understand. They're codifying some stuff, which is awesome. Which I think is good for people to comprehend and understand the game. Okay, we're getting into feats. Okay, thief. Okay, so you can use a search action. No longer use an object action. Sleight of hand. Make a dexterity check. Sleight of hand check to pick a lock, disarm a trap, or use thief tools, or to pickpocket something. I believe. I believe. I want to say this is just a general nerf. Um. Yeah, I think use an object action was really solid. I know people are upset that that's gone. Yeah, no more bonus action ball bearings. Yeah, they definitely a nerf. Yeah, you're definitely people are feeling this one, and I kind of agree with them. There was something special about actually using a very underutilized action that I've seen never, at least personally, never seen come up and play a lot when I play. And I think in a lot of like online discussions, unless they're really pointing it out, most of the time people don't forget that this is there. So I think I saw a lot more discussion come up when talking about using object action, is when Indestructible was working on the Alchemist, and also when people were overall discussing Hadesy and the Hadesy. specifically with their with one of the racial traits. Yeah. Normally that's for me personally, that's when I see a lot of that discussion regarding use and object action came up. Um, but yeah, like since I didn't interact with enough on those, it's hard for me to be like this a nerf, but I not being able to just be able to use items as a bonus action and have to waste a whole action to do it does shut off the fantasy behind being this little thief, classic rogue of using pretty much Home Aloneing Kevin McAllister rigging stuff around you quickly. Like, yeah, so huge. That is definitely a nerf. Yeah, search action exists. Yeah, like so. Yeah, so gonna be interesting. But also the good thing, this isn't set in stone, right? So the fact that they did gut this, that survey comes out, tell them no, like bring back use an object action. Like they've already shown that they're willing to walk back certain things, like the crit rolls, they walked it back. So this is the good thing though. Like none of this is set in stone. Like literally, we can be talking about one thing and thinking that we like it, and then find out that the rest of the community hates it. You know. So yeah. So definitely, yeah. Save it. Save thief. Second story work. You are trained especially hard to reach places granting you these benefits. You gain with climb speed equal to your speed. When you take the jump action, you can make a dexterity check instead of a strength check. So jump action is a new kind of action. This is coming straight out of Baldur's Gate because it is its own action there. Um yeah, so big thing we'll look at jump. But first climb speed, given it's now clearer, uh before I go jump into the jump action. So they just straight up say you have a climb speed instead of saying you have the ability to climb and climbing no longer costs you extra movement. They just clear that up and just say you have a climb speed. Way more defined. It's easier to understand that you have this thing. You can do it, which is fine. Jump speed. So jumping is a clunky mess right now in 5e where you have to have this formula at the ready to know what the hell, how high and how far you can jump. It's annoying. Always comes up, despite my playgroup normally having one monk in the party. We always forget this stupid formula you need to be able to jump. And on top of that, standard jump uses your movement speed. New jump action is now in action. It's when you attempt to leap more than 5 feet. When you take this action, your speed must be greater than 0, and you must make a DC strength check. Acrobatics or athletics. Interesting. Right here, acrobatics. A DC strength check. If you don't move at least 10 feet immediately before this action, you have disadvantage on the check. So you need it. If you get a running start, it's just normal. On a failed check, you leap 5 feet horizontally or vertically, but if you succeed, the check total, so the number you rolled on that DC, determines the distance in feet that you could clear horizontally, or half that total if you're jumping vertically rounded down. Now, the jump doesn't use your movement, but the total distance you can jump doesn't exceed your speed. Yeah, it removes exploits like how does he glide. Jump is now codified in a way that it is an action and interacts differently. So it we don't get that weird mess with the Herringon. As far as I'm seeing, this is the only way to jump. But what I'm noticing, yeah, that's going to be the downside. When you jump, it takes an action. So now since it's no longer considered just a movement. If you jump, and you cannot attack. Yeah, yeah, and it has to be jump more than 5 feet. Because if they say if you try to jump 5 feet or less, it's just treated as difficult terrain. So yeah, so that's the big change. You're trying to actually jump. So if this is the only way you jump, and this is how the jump rules work now, obviously now there's no more prone. We just jump, jumping. Right, ring of jumping, jumping, movement in position. Right, jumping, 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 being prone, jump. Let's go to jump, jumping. Movement. You special test movement. Okay. Right. So now we're playing open beta. So yeah, so we get but long jump. Okay. So like yeah, this is how jumping works currently, right? It's part of your movement. It's a special kind of movement. But if you I believe you jump over a certain number of feet, you automatically go prone, right? Or is that under the fall rules? Falling. Yeah. When you land a difficult terrain, you must succeed on DC on your feet, otherwise you land prone. Okay, that's for that. Yeah, so that's under falling rules. Okay. Okay, so now, okay. When I'm wondering how the fall rules are going to work and how jumping could be codified now, because now it's considered an action. It's not this weird movement thing. I'm wondering if this is a thing that can give access to like a dragoon kind of like subclass or class. Because now that jump is codified as an action. And depending on how falling is, could determine whether you're going to hit prone or not. Yeah, like that's what I saw as soon as I came in. Like I was like jump being an action now can be codified in a way that dragoon characters, dragoons for Final Fantasy set or Final Fantasy series, they're these heavily armored spear using that do these high ass leaps and then they just stab down. They're fucking awesome. Like one of the most iconic classes and characters in that whole series. They're about as iconic as like chocobos and mogs to that series. For those that haven't played Final Fantasy, if you're familiar with Final Fantasy VII, Sid Highwind, that character is pretty much a dragoon. I believe the character Freya in Final Fantasy IX is a dragoon. Also, the online game number 14, I forgot the main guy, but he's like one of the main characters that run alongside you in the second expansion. Like, there's just it's awesome, awesome. But yeah, like that opens this up, and also the reason I'm looking at this too because it's like for the luchador, coding jump action is pretty sick for that when this update drops. Because now high flying maneuvers are a lot easier to do because it's like, oh, when you use the jump action. Now you do a dragoon when you use the jump action. Yeah, I know. Terran Indestructible has been trying to figure this out, and then like as soon as I saw that, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, ooh, jump action works for a lot of stuff now. When you take the jump action, you can make an attack as a part of that same action, dealing 1d6 on a hit per 10 feet you descend. Yep. Easy feature. And depending on how the fall rules work, if anything, the falls rules work, if you use a jump action this way, you don't fall prone. Dropkick moves, yeah, like that's like that change right there just solves a lot of issues that trying to design classes, especially martial classes with some sort of uh vertical movement or yeah, it's hard to do. So that changes that. And that's why like I'm super excited because it's like I want to get Luchador out because I want it out for 5e, but it's like this update solves a lot of stuff too. Yeah. Okay. Let's finish Thief. And then what I'll do is just do a quick overview of the other ones because I am running late. I know it is late right now. So finish Thief, Supreme Sneak. You have advantage on every dexterity check, a stealth check you make, provided you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor. Really, really want you to be that really light armor wearing character. This moves from 9th level all the way down to 6th level. So originally it would give you advantage on stealth checks for only moving half your speed. Now instead of that movement, you always you don't have to give up your movement anymore. You also just straight up get advantage, but now it's at the cost of some defenses. So not bad. Because most of the time when you're going to be sneaking, if you are going to be sneaking, this kind of opens up some level of play out of combat that you can be dashing and sneak. Oh no, not a luchador monk. It's a full class luchador. Period. I have in my Discord. I have a thread up. I also have a thread up in Indestructible's Discord. You can check it out. I also have a free first tier 1 levels 1 through 5 playtest up on my Patreon. If you want to check it out. It's super close to being done. I'm super hyped. The art I have for it is super sick. I haven't showed off everything. So yeah. Ooh, Lucha, it's coming. I'm literally 2 features away from a full thing. So plan on working on that this weekend. So okay, so yeah, Supreme Sneak. Definitely don't see this as a combat thing. Definitely out of combat, but it does force you to be in light armor. You're really playing into a certain type of rogue. Yeah, definitely. If you guys aren't in Terran's Discord, Indestructible Boy, definitely go sub to the channel and go join his community. He has awesome, especially really in a homebrew. A lot of people, really friendly community that's really awesome about giving feedback and just generally discussing homebrew and mechanics, especially if you're a little bit more mechanic oriented. Definitely awesome community, and also there's a lot of homebrew designers there that pop in or pretty active themselves. Awesome Soul is one of the ones in there too. Definitely go check out his channel and his Discord too, because he has a ton of other he has a ton of subclasses too. Both of them do. That you guys should go support. All right. So other than that, use magic device. This got 100%. This got changed completely. So now the big change is it dropped from to level 10 from level 13. So this got 100% rework. So originally, use magic device, you had no restriction to whatever magic item that had a class, race, or level requirement to use it. That is completely removed. 100% removed. Now, it's kind of the artificer thing of you can attune more magic items. So I'm wondering, at the loss of those requirements, if magic items are no longer going to have that level of requirement anymore, where there's no class, race, and level assigned to them. I can see race to some extent. I know they've done this with alignment. That there's, I think, very like a small, very small handful of features that you need a certain alignment to use a magic item. but it's pretty much phased out. Race, I don't remember seeing, but there probably is. But there is class, and level requirements make sense because certain items are a certain level. But yeah, that's gone. So I'm wondering if this indicates a different change. That's how they're gonna design magic items now. Like they're removing that. They're not really gonna have these requirements down. They're gonna have different requirements. Yeah. So yeah, extra item, and then also they changed it so now you interact with magic items differently. So you have charges. So if you have a magic item that has a charge, if you roll a d6 and roll a 6, you don't use the charge. Cool. Um, fine, but it's very very luck based. Then also if you use a spell scroll pretty much you can use a spell scroll easily if it's a first level spell or if it's a cantrip. But if you try to use a spell scroll as of a spell of a higher level beyond that, you need to make an Arcana check, beating a DC equal to 10 plus that spell's level. On a successful check, you can cast the spell. Intelligence is a spellcasting ability. On a failed check, you just lose the scroll completely. So, without casting the spell. So, definitely a big change compared to the thief, or you could just use any magic item. So yeah, I'm just wondering if this indicates a different change, and you do get some okay mechanical things to deal with spells. But again, scrolls are going to be very dependent on if DMs are handing these out, and if you have a wizard in the party, I don't know if the thief is really going to be wanting to hold on to scrolls, so the wizard can add them into their spell book. But like wands and stuff, that's pretty cool. Just have a bunch of wands that you can use for a bunch more stuff. Going back to the jump action, I assume it counts as movement for getting opportunity attack. I don't know, because it doesn't use your actual movement. So you can actually jump and it moves and you move and then still use your regular movement. So they think what constitutes as a triggers an opportunity attack. Get a cone of cold scroll to outshine the hunter ranger. Can I jump out of a grapple? It would totally invalidate disengage if it didn't provoke opportunity attack. Okay, yeah, that's why I need to see what how opportunity attack works now. Other than that, level 14, Thieves Reflexes, you can now take a second bonus action on your turn, provided it is a bonus action from Cunning action. You can use this feature on a number of turns equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I believe who had a question mark. So I can search, sleight of hand, dash, disengage, or hide twice as a bonus action. Disengage and dash to get away from an attacker from making an attack. Yep, that's what it is. Yeah, I'll relook at the jump action right now. But yeah, so exactly what you said, Mark. Pretty much whatever you have under your cunning action, and in this case, the search action, and everything else, you can do it twice. It's pretty straightforward. Like for me, it's not flashy, but if you're really aware of how action economy works, it is going to be super effective. It's one of those things where, if you're trying to entice a player, like oh, this is like your big thing you get to do at the end. It doesn't seem flashy, but for you understand how to manipulate and really, yeah, just really have a good grasp of the action economy. This is really good. All right, so we're gonna look at jump really quick again because jump action is awesome. Now, so we can clear up something. Thieves Reflex is the most massive nerf to anything we've seen. Let me see. When you come adapt at Lang, you can take 2 turns. Okay, yeah. In comparison, yeah. In the comparison, the new one sucks. In comparison, it sucks because the old one, Thieves Reflexes, gives you 2 turns on 1 turn or 1 round. Excuse me. Meaning it's just not 2 bonus actions; it's like full turns. So you get, instead of just getting 2 bonus actions out of your cunning action, you're literally getting another attack, another set of movement, and another bonus action. You have like nothing to do with a second cunning action. Yeah, I think I want to say it's similar to what was in Baldur's Gate 3, except they got rid of the cool part about Baldur's Gate 3 was that you can make an additional offhand attack. Can't do that now because they changed how dual weapons work. But in Baldur's Gate 3, they had a feature like this, and they actually had it early on. 2, as of all things. The original also allowed 2 reactions for, yeah, see? Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, in terms of comparing both, this is definitely a nerf. Thief definitely got hit. Just because this alone gives you way more action, gives you a wider action economy. While the other one, as long as you know how to manipulate and use the action economy, but cunning action is very, very limited in what you're allowed to do now. You can run, yeah, like everybody says, you can run really, really fast. But comparatively, yeah, getting a whole other turn on a round is going to always be way better. All right. Yeah, thief got hurt. All right, thanks for stopping by, Mark. I know I'm running really late. I'm gonna wrap it up here really, really soon. I'm just gonna give you some highlights of the feats that I saw that I was like that had major changes. And then and then pretty much call it there. And then just overall, pretty much I had an overall summary, but I've talked about them throughout the whole thing. So feat summary. All right, let's go ahead, and the main ones I want to highlight are obviously ability score improvement. We're going to talk about Charger really quick, Crossbow Expert, Great Weapon Master, Sharpshooter, and Shield Master. Those are like the ones that I felt like stood out to me. There's a bunch of other ones there, but these are the ones that I know people were keeping eyes on. So let's do that because this is a very, very chunky boy, very, very chunky document to go through. So there's definitely a lot. So let's start off with ability score. Here you go. Ability score improvement. So obviously now instead of ASIs, we're getting feats full on in their place. But if we don't know what to take or don't have a feat to take, you could just take the ability score improvement feat and do that. I believe this was something we saw from Baldur's Gate because the way they kind of coded the ASIs and feats in there, it was like you either take the ASI feat or you take these other feats. Yeah, these feats are way better. They're just a lot of them are well written too, or they do a lot more than what's been given in 5e. I'm not surprised. Thank you, Torrential Downpour. Thank you for the sub. All right. So yeah, straightforward ability score improvements now are a feat that you can take multiple times whenever you need to grab a feat. But now let's go to Charger. So the reason Charger kind of really stood out to me was there's a vast improvement about what it's doing now. That I saw that like it's viable for classes I didn't think it would really be viable for now. So Charger, you get pretty much to increase either strength or dex. You take a dash action, your speed increases by 10 for that action. So if you move at least 10 feet in a straight line immediately before hitting with an attack as part of that attack action on your turn, you can choose one of the effects, gain a d8 bonus to the attack damage roll, or push the target up to 10 feet, provided the target you want to push is no more than one size larger than you. So when I saw this, I was like, immediately, was like, oh, well, this is kind of cool with Rogue a little bit. Like, you go in, dash, pretty much, yeah, make your attacks, either take the extra damage and disengage, or do your attacks and push them away, and then move back. That's pretty much what I saw. Is like you're very much an in and out kind of character. So that was like the one interaction. Like, oh, that's not bad. Like, if I'm going to play a rogue that really wants to get in there and push and kind of manipulate combat, or just get a little bit of extra damage. Yeah, and monks too. That's why anybody that can get like pretty much disengage or get away to some extent is, and it wants to play that striker role, that skirmisher going back and forth. Charger looks pretty cool. Yeah, it doesn't require dash to proc. Yep. Yeah, this is monk doing a flying jump kick. Yeah, like I saw that. I was like, man, like anybody that's a skirmisher, a striker kind of character, this actually looks pretty good for them. Especially too, like, okay, you don't want the extra damage, but you need to push somebody off of an ally. Boom. Like, it's just way more useful. I'm so disappointed in Keen Mind or Observant and Mobile. I'll double check for mobile use. I believe people said it's gone or it's been replaced. But yeah, that's what I want to bring up. Charge, just like pointed out, like, hey, like it's way more viable now, and it looks pretty good on skirmisher characters. Also kind of Reinhardy too, if you do take it on like this tanky person that you just go in there and rush in and just kind of knock somebody. Okay. All right. Other than that, let's go to crossbow expert. So this guy completely changed. Let's go crossbow expert, so we can actually see the changes really quick. Crossbow expert. So, pretty much this now only works with crossbows like the name intends it to be. All right. Thanks for stopping by, Jordan, man. Thank you. I know I'm running late. Have a good night. We're almost done here, guys. So don't want to keep everybody up. It is still a Thursday night. Watch Bob World Builder drop a video on how hard he has to get hit to be pushed 10 feet. Oh. All right, I'll check out Speedster also really quick. So yeah, crossbow expert now just works with crossbows. So you ignore the loading property of crossbows. Being within 5 feet of an enemy doesn't impose disadvantage on your attack rolls with crossbows. When you make an extra attack of a light weapon property, you can add your ability modifier to damage of the extra attack if the attack is with a crossbow that has a light property. So crossbow expert originally. So still same, ignore the loading property of crossbows, but it removes the being within 5 feet of a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls. So this used to apply to any ranged attack. Now it's just crossbows. They made Diablos Demon Hunter viable. Yeah. Yep. Most definitely. But when you use the attack action and the attack with one hand, you can use the bonus action attack with your hand with a crossbow you're holding. The big change is that it has to be a crossbow with the light property. So that's what it is. So yeah, definitely did change it. It is now within the scope of what it's supposed to, the fantasy behind it. So yeah, so definitely where it's intended. I do not mind the change. Yeah, it's just a hand crossbow. So yeah, that's cool. Like, yeah, most definitely. Nothing wrong with it if it fits that fantasy. It's intending to hit and not allow for some level of like cheese. All right, Great Weapon Master is like I think one of the ones that big changed. It was Where are you at, buddy? So this was a bread and butter staple for any dual wielding martial character. The big change, they got rid of the hit to accuracy to gain a +10 to attack. So no longer can we take 5 to our attack roll, or -5 to our attack roll to get a +10 to our damage rolls. That is completely gone. It is gone. Instead now, yeah, they did this with sharpshooter too, so that's what I want to bring up. But I think Great Weapon Master still makes out better than sharpshooter in comparison. Um, so again, like I said originally, the power, pretty much that power attack. But still, what remains the same is whenever you score a critical with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can make a melee attack as a bonus action. That's still there with Cleave. Whenever you score a critical hit with a melee weapon or reduce a creature to 0 hit points, you can make one attack with the same weapon as a bonus action. So you still get that. So, but the change is here now with Heavy Weapon Master. When you hit a creature with a heavy weapon as a part of the attack action on your turn, you can cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target. The extra damage equals to your proficiency bonus. You can only deal it once per turn. So you still get a level of extra damage, but now it's not just a flat, like a +10 to your accuracy. And then to take +10 to the damage roll, and then you take a hit to your accuracy. Now it's just, you just are using a big ass sword, big ass hammer, big ass axe. Boom. You're getting a little extra damage buff. I'm not a math guy, so I think the math people would need to like run the numbers and see if there is a damage fall off. Yeah. The mechanic was meta defining and unhealthy for the game. These are remarkably mature design decisions being made by a design team I had really shaky faith in. This looks solid. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, if you wanted to play a character that used a big ass hand weapon and wanted to also be viable in the damage, like dealing damage with the weapon, you had to take that weapon. You had to take that feat. Like there's currently, you have to take that feat just to feel effective. Every barbarian I've played has taken that feat. Great Weapon Master and says we're big spikes, but were never really used in optimized builds. I can see that, and I'm wondering, is it because the way the optimized builds are playing that they're trying to use or manipulate the enemy's action economy to where it doesn't exist anymore. And I can see that with optimized builds, that's what their goal is, to intended to just completely 100% shut down an enemy and not let them interact at all. And where Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter, you still interact with the game in a way. As someone with a Cobalt Barb at their table with a magic boots that let them use heavy weapons, I like this change. Yeah, like, DPR calcs push optimizers away from them because the flat reduction was undervalued and just how bad it hurt accuracy until like 2019-ish. Interesting. Yeah. I like this change. Just, the thing is, it still fulfills that power fantasy where you're using that big weapon and you're dealing extra damage, and then especially the Cleave 2, you're just eating through an enemy as soon as they die, or you hit big, you hit somebody else next to them. Still good. I'm not mad about the change. I probably will still take it if I'm playing a guy with a big sword and really, or like a big weapon and trying to emphasize that power fantasy. But yeah, it was something I think people saw coming. Like, it's not one of those things where like we didn't think this was going to get untouched. If people too were upset that this did get nerfed, burst in your bubble. Like, you got the online discussion surrounding Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter was that people felt in general that they were either problematic for their table, and then in design circles that they just were not designed well at all. Oh dang. The reliance on reckless attack to make Great Weapmaster good actually turned out to be 1.85 to an attack roll rather than the 0.5 originally considered. See, and that's like my barbarians, Great Weapmaster, reckless attack, and then it was the ancestral guardian subclass. So like I got rewarded for hitting things and like big damage spikes and protecting my allies. So, but yeah, like you replace it with this, and also this opens Great Weapon Master more and doesn't more to fighters and to paladins because at times they just didn't always have access to mitigate that loss in accuracy. Well, this was like a natural fit with barbarians because of reckless attack to mitigate that -5. Fighters and paladins, depending on the subclass, didn't always have it. Like samurai fighter, I don't get why people sleep on it, but it's a good one. And yeah, like with Great Weapon Master, just big ass sword, like fighting spirit. Great Weapon Master, you're good. But now this does open it up. This right here makes me think maneuvers are even more dead. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Something's gonna happen with maneuvers. Definitely. Okay. Let's jump back into it. Okay. Crossbow Extra Master. Let's jump to Sharpshooter so people can see what changed. Because it was a big change. Sharpshooter. So yeah, again, loss in accuracy. So the accuracy loss for the big damage spike is completely gone. Now, but other than that, everything else is the same, I believe. So let's look at Sharpshooter. So we lose this, but instead we get range attacks with weapons ignore half cover and 3/4 cover. So that is the same as this. Okay, cool. We still get the second bullet point. Being within 5 feet of an enemy doesn't impose disadvantage on range attacks with weapons. Okay, that's new. So you can shoot people at point blank. And then also you still get the long range. So replacing point blank, the damage spike with point blank shots. Yeah, this was stolen from exactly crossbow expert, but now applies to all range attacks. And not just crossbows. So yeah. Definitely yeah. You have to take sharpshooter attack when that's ooh. That's funny. Oh god. Now take sharpshooter going longbow. Yeah. And the thing is people are still going to use this, but now I think other classes that normally or other builds that would tend to use sharpshooter for the damage output, I think are probably going to have other features and abilities in their class and subclass kits that make up the difference. I'm seeing that, like, especially now that we saw Ranger and how Hunter's Mark is going to interact, and they're still giving damage buffs in the core class. Ranger not having Sharpshooter in their like Sharpshooter for the damage buff, I don't see that there's gonna it's gonna be affected too much. They probably do will stake Sharpshooter if for long shots and covers though, being able to hit stuff that's behind cover. Still see that being a reason why you take it. But yeah, but it does yeah, and also being able to fire at somebody, not even point blank, just being able to fire too that with somebody next to you. I think that's another thing too. You're pretty much firing under pressure. This is very Hawkeye and Green Arrow feeling feat. Definitely hits a fantasy, and now just is balanced. Definitely a feat. Now that I think about it, I probably still would take. I don't see why I wouldn't take it. Just I probably wouldn't take it immediately. All right, last feat I want to look at. Ritual Caster nerf. I didn't even get to read Ritual Caster. Ritual Caster, choose a first level spell that has a ritual tag from Arcane, Divine, and Primal spells. You have those spells, two spells prepared. You can cast them with any spell slot you have. The spells really increased by this feat. The quick ritual, the benefit: you cast a ritual that you have prepared using its regular casting time, rather than the extended time for a ritual. Doing so doesn't require a spell slot once you use the cast spell this way. Well, it's because they changed, right? They gutted it out, but they also changed how that every class can get ritual cast. Right? I gotta look at the original one, but I'll do that at another time. I want to look at one more Shield Master because there's some interesting things now with Shield Master that I'm wondering if it kind of solved a little bit of an issue. Where are you at? Oh, here it goes. Bit of an issue they had with how the action economy worked with Shield Master. So I'm wondering if, from way I read it earlier, if that solves that. Okay, so strength score of either one, pretty much improve your strength score by one. Shield Bash. So this is where I think I saw the change. When you attack a creature within 5 feet of you as a part of the attack action and hit with a melee weapon, you can immediately bash the target with your shield if it's equipped, forcing the target to make a strength saving throw against a DC equal to 8 plus your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus. On a failed save, you knock the target prone or push it 5 feet away. So I'm wondering, with extra attack, as long as you hit with the first attack, you could interweave the bash as a bonus action and still follow up with the second attack now. Because the original, from my understanding, the original Shield Bash or Shield Master was that you had to use both attacks when you take the attack action first before you can use this as a bonus action. So the way I'm reading this now, it says whenever, as long as you hit, once you hit with the attack, the first attack at least. Which kind of solves some of that clunkiness and actually allows for a cool setup. If I'm reading that correctly. Which I like. I kind of honestly wish they just said you can just shield bash. But I'm assuming they just don't want to allow a player to just have advantage on all their attacks, because obviously you're going to shield bash and knock it prone and then just wail on the guy. At least they want to make you work for it just a little bit longer. Or just a little bit more. Right, because if you take the attack action on your turn, you can use a bonus. Yeah, so yeah, this does change it. So this one, as long as you take the attack action on your turn as a bonus action, you can shove the creature. All right. But now it says, as a part of the attack action, a hit with a melee weapon. So even with extra attack, you get 2 hits. So as long as you hit with the first one, you can bonus action, knock a person prone, and then take your follow-up attack and hit again with advantage. So I think that's actually pretty cool if that is the case. Also, improve subjected to an effect. You make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage. You can use your reaction to take no damage if succeeding on a saving throw and are wielding a shield, interposing your shield between yourself and the source of the effect. And that stays the same. So yeah. Definitely, if I'm reading this correctly, this makes Shield Bash pretty damn sweet. And allows people to take advantage of that fantasy. Would be part of me is like, why didn't they just make this a regular attack, or as part of the attack action, or just an attack itself to allow you to just bonk people with a shield? But still, not that bad. Still pretty solid. But yeah, there's a lot on this. There's still a lot of stuff I didn't even get to take a look at. Yeah, there's still some weirdness, because I think the big clarification is on if both attacks still need to be made with the attack action, or if you can actually split up the attacks. Because I know at least you can split up your attacks with movement. So I wonder if you can still do that now with the bonus action. Because if not, just let us bonk people. So that's all I want. Or we can all just play the Vanguard and just do it that way. Alrighty. I think that about does it for me. Yeah, there is a lot. This is a very, very meaty. Expect the survey out in another week or so. But yeah, definitely looking forward now to seeing what's going to happen now with the other martial characters. I know everybody's like looking forward to the mages and the priest, but for me, while I expect changes to warlock and sorcerer, I expect them. The marshals are going to be in a really interesting position and see how much utility in diversity in their action economy is going to be given to them, because that has always been the biggest complaint for marshals, that they just attack. They don't get to do a lot. And we're already seeing stuff with like unarmed strike, excuse me, having shove and grapple intertwined in that now, which opens up a lot of different gameplay elements. What they're going to do with maneuvers, whether they're gone or not, or if they're going to add different things to them. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, new mobile drops the whole don't provoke opportunity attacks piece. Interesting. Yeah, I don't. I won't be surprised that that starts to get put into different class features, or they do something where they want people to use the disengage action. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's going to be a part of the community that just wants it to be very, very powerful and kind of like scale with spells in a way and compete with spellcasters to maintain. For me, what I'm looking forward to, does it give me the fantasy and does it feel good when I'm doing it? That's for me. That's always been the immediate thing. Is like, um, and there's certain classes that don't feel like the monk is one of those, and the monk is an archetype that I enjoy playing, but it needs more to actually make it feel good. And I guess not necessarily feel powerful, but there's just the clunkiness in its mechanics and the fact that um, it doesn't have a defined role in the game is what make for me like makes monk not feel as intuitive, like not feel like it can compare, or that it has a niche in what it's meant to do. What's going on, nerd Latiris? Welcome. Yeah, calling it speedsters the goof. Yeah, I know. So yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. I think marshals are gonna be in an interesting place. I'm really looking forward to what they do with them, and if we're gonna start seeing how the scaffolding is gonna be. If class groups are gonna have specific scaffolding. But also, what that does for design is that it makes it easier and gives designers a better direction, or just a different direction on where they need to fit certain archetypes and certain class fantasies and certain, yeah, just an overall narrative fantasies and what roles they want them to fill. It's going to be interesting because, yeah, we definitely saw with the expertise, every single one of them has a feature at 3rd, a feature at 6th, a feature at 10th, and then a feature at 14th. So I'm wondering if warriors are going to have their own, and then eventually mages and priests will have their own. Yeah. Yeah. And also, yeah, Taryn brings up another point. None of this is set in stone. With this, where they're very open to change. We've already seen it now. They've walked back the crit rules immediately. There's stuff that you don't like, and as long as enough of the community doesn't like, they'll walk stuff back or they'll change it. Make sure you do those surveys, but don't. There's a level of negativity that is always going to be shared online. I've been like not going to Reddit. I've been muting stuff, Twitter and stuff here and there to avoid a lot of that conversation, just because it's not productive. So you're gonna fill out that survey. Please be as clear and concise and give them really really solid feedback to really shape this game into something that you're gonna actually enjoy. Um, because yeah, that's just one of those things. It's just very easy to fall into negativity and hot takes in the internet since we're rewarded for it. But we're in a good spot to actually shape this game into something that we're going to enjoy playing. Because yeah, this is like the first edition transition I'm like actually a part of, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'm waiting. My playgroup is waiting for all the playtests to come out, so we're gonna actually run like the classes through and actually play mechanics. But yeah, that's what we're looking forward to, because now that we're pretty much we're gonna get a monthly, so it's gonna be like September. We got September. We'll get one October, November, December. So in the start of 2023, we'll probably have a new campaign that has you do classes. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you, Dynastis, Indestructible Boy, Nerlatris. Let's see, Shub, Awesome Soul, Black Fang, Renin. Let's see. I know we had Flute Sloot. Eric was here earlier. Prime Minis, Mark, my buddy David, and everybody else that I didn't get to mention. Thank you guys for showing up. Yeah, and thanks you guys for showing up. Until next time, I'm probably gonna be doing a stream sometime soon. Hopefully, by next weekend, I want to make these a little bit more regular. Probably not as late. I'll probably be in the midday sometime. So yeah, thank you guys for showing up, and until next time, you guys have a good one, and I'll see you again.